It's the second straight home game for the Cotuit Kettleers on a Saturday afternoon. As with this Western Division continuing to heat up, the Kettleers will try to get another big divisional win when they welcome the Falmouth Commodores. Welcome back to the Kettleers pregame show, everyone. Tim Crowley joined by Chris and Steph Carey, and a huge win yesterday over the Hyannis Harbor Hawks to snap a 5-game losing streak. And over the next 2 games, today at home against Falmouth and on the road tomorrow at Wareham, 2 big games in terms of the 2-seed race that we'll see over the rest of the season.
Well, you said it, next 2 opponents, both gunning for that number 2 seed in the West. And it's going to be a big game here tonight against Falmouth. Kettleers need to start building up some ground as we go in towards the playoffs in the next week or so. And it should be a good matchup here today on Ladies' Night, of all things.
Cotuit trying to make it 2-0 in their last 2 as they already stand 2-0 over the Commodores in the season series thus far. They get plenty of action against Falmouth as well over the final week and a half of the season. Let's start to dive into this pitching matchup just a little bit. We'll start with Falmouth. It'll be Adam Stone, the big right-hander out of Harvard.
His last name may be Stone, but you might as well call him Statue, 6'6", 225 pounds, a big right-hander with high velocities in the fastball, making his first collegiate start ever. So wild card on what we'll see from the Commodores. They're looking to get a win and possibly get into second place against the Kettleers.
For the Kettleers, it's maybe no one else they'd rather have on the mound today. And how good does this feel to say? All-star Jake Brooks taking the mound today has been sensational in his time in Cotuit, and the Lowell Park faithful gets another chance to watch one of the best pitchers in the Cape today.
Well, all-star Jake Brooks on Ladies' Night. I mean, I have to throw that out there. Great guy, and he's going to be ready to do some damage. 3-2, 1.42 ERA, and a whip below 1 so far this season. So he comes out and he brings the Kettleers the best chance to win every time he's on the mound. I have no worries for him from a starting standpoint.
After the win last night, Cotuit back in sole possession of that second-place spot behind Bourne in the West, and we'll see a big week ahead with plenty of divisional matchups as this race continues to heat up. For our keys to the game, let's send it over to our sideline reporter, Lauren Kirkley. Lauren?
Thanks, Tim. Here are my keys for tonight's game. Number 1, take advantage of Brooks' start. We've seen what he can do. We know that he's capable of length, but we're going to need to see this offense back him up tonight. Number 2, stay productive at the bottom of the lineup. Last night in the 3rd inning, we saw the bats get rolling with 7, 8, and 9 Margarella, Donlin, and Ritter. Number 3, keep contenders at bay. Back tonight with another Western matchup. Falmouth is one of those teams that's hung around second place. A win tonight will provide the Kettleers some comfort as they sit at number 2 in the West. After the game, you can catch me with Coach Roberts, as always, before Tim takes us home on the post-game show. For now, let's send it up to the Carries for tonight's broadcast on the Kettleers Digital Network.
A 6-inning game yesterday brings us back to Lowell Park for the second time in 2 days. Now the Cotuit Kettleers will face off against Western Conference foe, the Falmouth Commodores. Welcome inside the booth, Chris Carey, alongside my brother and partner Stephen Carey for more Kettleers baseball as we enter the later half of this season, where the Kettleers are trying to secure and hold that second place spot in the CCBL West.
Well, it's going to come down to the stretch, that's for sure. The Kettleers looking to get a couple of wins together. This week is going to be extremely important for all three teams that are competing for that second place spot, Wareham, Falmouth, and of course Cotuit. If Cotuit can get a win here and then build off of that tomorrow against Wareham, they will set themselves up in prime position to hold up that second place spot going into the playoffs in just about a week and a half.
And we're just about underway for the big game. One of the major deciding games of the rest of the season. You don't think about the implications now, but thinking about if Cotuit loses this game and Wareham and Falmouth are able to win, then they're tied for second place. As we read the starting lineup for the Falmouth Commodores. Batting first and playing third base, Cody Colden, followed by Casey Hartford out of Tennessee Martin. Jace Borfin will bat third and play right field. Cleaning up and playing first is Chris Armstrong. Behind the plate and batting fifth, Taylor Smith. Anthony Hall in left field batting sixth. Curiali at second base batting seventh. Jonathan French, the designated hitter out of Clemson, will bat eighth. And rounding out the order in center field is Luke Boyers. Now we'll take a look at the defense from left to right for the Kettleers. And for the first time this season, the lineup is exactly the same from yesterday to today. Matt Suggs at left, James Grady in center, Noah Bridges in right. Carter Trice at third, Ryan Ritter at short, Eric Brown over at second base, and Luke Gold at first base, with Matt Donlin behind the plate, and Jake Brooks, the starting pitcher for the Kettleers, and boy, is it good to see him on the hump for the Kettleers here on Saturday.
Well, simply put, Chris, Jake Brooks gives the Kettleers their best chance to win. With the loss of Jake Smith and Justin Mice, he has been the most dominant starter in this entire rotation, probably the most dominant pitcher on this entire team. You just look at his numbers. He's put together quite the season, a 3-2 record with 25 1/3 innings pitched, 21 hits allowed, only 4 earned runs and 2 walks. That's the number that's going to jump off the page. 2 walks. He's not going to put guys on base by missing the strike zone. He's going to make them beat him with his best pitches. So it should be a good one here today, and hopefully the Kettleers end up on top like they did last night against Hyannis, snapping that 5-game losing streak.
Certainly so, Stefan, as Cody Colden will stand in to start the game here at Lowell Park. Cotuit holding a record of 12-14. Commodores at 10-13-2. Sparky Burns will man the duties behind the plate as the home plate umpire. Mike Hinojosa over at first, then Chuck Furlong at third base. With Jake Brooks looking ready to go, and a quick first pitch is a swing and a miss. Fastball in the inside corner, and 1.2 hit on immediately is when Jake Brooks has been able to command that four-seam sinker fastball combination that we've talked about. He's had a very, very good time.
Well, and that's the thing is you call it a four-seam sinker. It's just his four-seam fastball, his most basic pitch, but it has such natural movement. The concern now for him at the next level, 89 miles an hour, needs to get it up a couple of ticks, which is very possible. You see that frame, if he can add 15-ish pounds of muscle, he's going to be able to hit around low 90s.
3 straight fastballs. It's a 1-2 count for Cody Colden. And we talked to Jake about this a few games ago. He said, what was I topping out at? And we said around 88 miles an hour consistently. He said, I got to get that up. So at 89 here, he wants to keep revving it up. 1-2 pitch, light chopper to Trice. He'll charge on, first opportunity, across, and makes the play. And Carter Trice has had some trouble on the run, but right there it looked good.
It certainly did. One thing you want to eliminate is that second pump by number 8 over on the hot corner. He doesn't have the most confidence in his release point. Usually at the next level, if you have a speedy runner like that, you're going to need to get it out of your glove as quickly as possible and fire that throw over to Luke Gold immediately. But there, good knowledge by Trice to hold on to the ball and take his time to make the best throw he could.
First slider of the day is fouled away, making it 0-1. Casey Hartford now up, the shortstop out of Tennessee Martin. He's batting .250 with 5 hits and 1 batted in the number 2 spot today for the Commodores. So Brooks ready and firing. And he hits him. Left it up, the slider stayed by the left shoulder, and that's the first base runner of the game.
That's something you won't see very often from Jake Brooks, unforced errors. But another point I wanted to get on, Chris, is you look at the top of the order with Cody Colden leading off. They've completely flipped what they did against us the last time we played on July 11th. Luke Boyers had been the leadoff man for pretty much the entire season with Cody Colden at the bottom of the order. So they have flipped those two. Boyers now in the 9 spot, Colden leading off. I think it's interesting. It's sort of whoever's swinging the hottest bat, because when we last saw Cody Colden, he was batting .098. He's raised his average up by about 40 points since then.
You talk about 9-1, a mainstay at the number 3 spot and cleanup is Jace Borfin, and for good reason as he takes a fastball to the outside corner. .299 average. That's good for 5th on the CCBL batting list. 26 hits, 5 home runs, and 17 RBIs.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the ideal situation to put him in. If you have base runners aboard, he can do damage. He has power for contact. He can hit for pretty much anything you need him to. The 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in, that's sort of what jumps out at you when you're looking at Jace Borfin's stats. But .299 as a mainstay throughout the entire season, that's pretty exciting. I mean, the next closest Kettleers batting around .260.
We have to remember this is the first left-handed hitter that Jake Brooks is going to face in this order. And a very dangerous one at that. There's a big gap between Ritter and Eric Brown, who's playing closer to the first base bag. Ritter's making sure that Casey Harford doesn't try to stray away from first base. That's why he'll quickly get over to the bag. But Donlan's had some trouble throwing down on the pop-up. Wondering if they've been working on that behind the scenes. With 2-1. That's softly lifted into center field. Grady coming on and diving. It gets down. So Borfin continues his hitting performances here in the CCBL. That's good for number 27 on his season, moving Casey Harford over to second base.
Right off the end of the bat, finds its way into shallow center field, and you know that's a hit that he earned because Jace Grady can cover a ton of ground. We've seen him make plays more difficult than that, just didn't have the best jump on it. Thought it may have had a little bit more hang time. Like the diving effort, but even more so to keep that ball in front of him. Good backup by Noah Bridges out in right field to make sure that Casey Harford didn't advance too far off second base and maybe try to go first to third.
Now Christopher Armstrong is up out of the University of Florida this season, batting .275. So stayed very consistent since the last time we saw him. He was batting at a clip of .278. Has 14 hits, 4 home runs, and 9 RBIs.
Yeah, he's certainly heated up over the last couple games. First time we saw him, he had yet to record a hit in the CCBL. That was on July 4th. Starting to come into his own in this cleanup spot.
Cue shot right back to Brooks. Only one play over to first, and he makes it for the second out. Now there will be runners on second and third for the Commodores, and Taylor Smith, the starting catcher.
That's a big out for Jake Brooks. He really needed that one. Didn't want to allow Armstrong to get his hands inside the ball. Light contact, though. Still a very, very good thing to see early in this game for Jake Brooks. I wouldn't say he got beat up against Bourne the other day. When he had his last start, he allowed 3 runs to come in, but excellent performance early. Now, it's when he gets into the 4th and 5th innings, that's when it starts to become a bit of a question, if you can even say that much.
He allowed 1 run, and then I believe a 2-run home run from Max Anderson to left field, and that was the end of the day for him. I think that happened in the 5th inning of his work.
He went 4 2/3, and that's the first piece of solid contact that I can really remember a team having against number 33 this season. And that says a lot. He's pitched over 25 innings this season.
Smith fans on a slider. He's behind 0-1, and I think you make a great point. Even considering Jace Borfin's base hit, it's just a light, shallow fly ball to center field that found the green grass right before Jace Grady. It hasn't been hard contact. He's been drawing the ball on the ground, considering the 2 groundouts he's already been able to cause in the top of the 1st inning here. And he's also pitched to strike out. Seeing the slider a whole lot more, he wanted to make that work against Bourne. Now the 0-1. Does it again, and it's a beauty at 0-2.
Well, and his pitch sequencing is pretty unusual. He likes the fastball, he likes the slider, doesn't really sprinkle in the changeup that much, but the changeup is different because it sits around 78 to 80 miles an hour. The slider, 82, 83 miles an hour. Fastball, anywhere from 88 to 90 if he revs it up. Usually a changeup's a speedier pitch than a slider, but slider is faster in this case.
0-2. Brooks gets him on 3 straight sliders and leaves 2 stranded in scoring position. We head to the bottom of the first. Up next, Brooks gets out of trouble in the top of the first inning, and we see a new pitcher for the Falmouth Commodores in Adam Stone out of Harvard University. And you can't miss him, 6'6", 225 pounds, making his first ever collegiate start. Now, we've seen him in relief for the Falmouth Commodores, but right now is the first time since Harvard with COVID and other things, member of the USA Collegiate National Team as well. Not sure how long he will go, but an interesting pitcher nonetheless.
Well, and I don't even know if you can call it a collegiate start because this is still technically an amateur league, but it's as close as it would be to simulating a collegiate start. Stone coming out here, had a good time out with Team USA as so many have and so many have learned. There's going to be a lot of scouts out here looking at him in particular. I think the expectation is that he's going to go 1, maybe 2 innings just to save that arm and then turn it over to the bullpen. So it could be a good opportunity for the Kettleers to just jump all over the Commodores and force them to use their bullpen to the max.
Well, the scouting report from Will Thompson is that this guy can get it up to 96 to 98 miles an hour consistently. The first person he'll face is the hot bat of Jace Grady, who had an RBI last game via a sacrifice bunt in the 3rd inning. And remember, that game ended in the 6th inning due to rain and lightning and other things. So the earliest closeout at Lowell Park this season. First pitch from Stone, spiked in the dirt, going all the way to the backstop, makes it 1-0.
Well, and speaking of weather conditions, Falmouth has yet to play a game here at Lowell Park. I mean, the last time these two teams were scheduled to meet here, it was rained out. So they're getting their first look at this ballpark this season. And they're a team that has struggled a lot in their home ballpark, been a different scenario completely when they're away.
We were talking to their broadcasters the last time they were there, and the last time we came there, it was a chance for them to possibly win their first home game of the season. So now a 1-1 to Jace Grady, who's batting .281 on the season with 9 hits, 2 home runs, and 6 runs batted in from both sides of the plate.
Well, when you see him hitting as well as he is, it's really hard to overlook him, especially with what he brings to the table defensively out in center field. This is the easiest 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball that I've seen from a pitcher so far this season. I mean, just releasing it 91 out of the hand. Looks like he's playing catch in the backyard.
Able to take it off and still command the zone, the 2-2. Big take there from Grady, makes the count full. And the last thing you want to do if you're the Commodores starting pitcher is have this guy walk over to first base, have a leadoff runner. 3-2 from Stone. Turned over foul. You'll see another pitch.
He went with that elevated fastball. The mistake was he left it too far inside. Grady had to protect the plate with 2 strikes. And as so many hitters in the CCBL do, when they see that high fastball, they want to swing at it. Fortunately for Grady, he got enough of it to foul it right at the Commodores' dugout. But this is going to be a game where you're going to see a battle. These two teams want to beat each other, not because they both want to get that second place spot, but because last game, emotions and tempers were very, very high at Gov Fuller Field, Chris.
3-2 to Grady. Popped up. Will it stay in play? Moving back is Smith, still going, and that nearly hit us. Didn't flinch, though. Definitely did not flinch. Hit the, what is it, the awning there right in front of us, and we didn't even know. Lauren looks like she just about had a heart attack.
Well, sometimes you have to get hit in the face just to feel something.
3-2 pitch. Chopped over to Curiali. He'll lightly toss it over to first for the first out. Good at-bat from Grady. Not the result he wanted. Brings up Carter Trice.
Grady had a ton of fight in that at-bat. He's really going deep in the count, and that's something that Coach Mike Roberts is going to think of as a positive sign for Jace Grady, is making these pitchers work and up their pitch count. Now, we said it about Stone. He's probably not going to go very far in this game in terms of the amount of innings that he's going to go in because, again, he's untested as a starter, like you mentioned in the broadcast. So working him and working that pitch count isn't really a big factor. But later in the game, when you start going through relief corps, and with the light, of course, you have to mention that it's going to become a very big deal in how these at-bats are approached by the players of the Kettleers.
Trice takes one outside. He's batting 100 this season with 1 hit and only 10 at-bats. They're hoping that his production that they saw at Old Dominion, batting .355 there, is going to come out the late parts of this season or the Kettleers' playoff push.
Well, and I think that a lot of these players have had some trouble adjusting to the wood bats. Not everybody's going to burst onto the scene like Luke Gold and Brett Roberts did in the early parts of the season and just jump all over every pitch with the wood bat, right? Trice is one of the younger players on this team. He has probably the highest ceiling right now in terms of what he's done as a freshman at ODU. But still, we have to give him his time to adjust.
It's hard to even determine who has a higher ceiling at this point, considering that everybody on this field and in this league is the best of every team they've ever played on. But I do agree, as a freshman, having those numbers, it is a luxury, to say the least, to have number 8 at the hot corner for us at this point in the season. So 3-0 comes in, took a little bit off, and got the result he wanted. It's 3-1.
Well, and we also talked about the adjustments that he's had to make defensively. Now, third base is not his natural position. He's usually playing over at second. Shorter throw, different reads completely on how the ball is played on the infield. But, of course, you're not going to move Eric Brown over with how well he has been doing defensively, and you need that bat in the lineup.
And another strike at 92. So Stone has been able to take a little bit off and find the zone fairly well thus far. Now, the scouting report said that he's had some command issues when he's pitched for the Commodores and other places. Right now, not seeing very much of that at all. So 3-2 comes in. And there's the first walk of his day.
So a similar start for Stone as the same as what happened with Jake Brooks. You get the first out, then you put a base runner on. Now Brooks allowed a base hit, which is something that we haven't been able to say very often in the first inning especially. Luke Gold could potentially make things extremely similar with this third batter in the bottom of the first inning.
First pitch to Gold. Slider away, and that's pretty commonplace at this point for Luke Gold. They're not throwing it inside anymore to him. They're pitching away and hoping that he can draw light contact to the right side of the infield, because when you get it in on his hands, trouble usually follows.
Yeah, and pay attention to Trice over at first base. He's taking a huge lead. Gets about a quarter of the way to the second base bag, then pumps the brakes, turns back.
Gold this season, a team-leading .260 batting average, tied with Eric Brown with 20 hits, 4 home runs, and 18 RBIs. It's the 1-0. Fastball stays up, make it 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, and if you're going to throw a fastball to Luke Gold, you need to throw a fastball with movement. And I haven't seen a ton of movement from Stone's pitches. It's a lot of velocity. But if there's something that's straight, Luke Gold is going to hit it a very long way, especially if you leave it in his wheelhouse, which is anywhere over the plate virtually.
We find ourselves getting here earlier and earlier, being able to see these guys take batting practice, and Gold stood out to me as well as Martorello over the last couple of days. Just being able to get their hands through the ball. And that is in on the hands, curling foul. And right there is a display of what he can do. Now, it did go foul, but line drive, straight through. Great action with that bottom guiding wrist. Makes it 2-1.
Well, and I think Coach Mike Roberts was trying to emphasize that today during batting practice, was really using the top hand to curl the ball when you're pulling it. Trying to get that looping action, put it into a corner. Luke Gold's always looking for extra bases.
Trice is going to go, and Gold fouls it away. And he had a great jump. Easily could have gotten into second base standing up. I wouldn't have expected a throw from Smith there. That's how big the jump was from Carter Trice. Nonetheless, he'll have to retreat to first base, and Gold will have a 2-2 count.
Well, and the Kettleers are staying true to form in terms of base running. Noah Bridges got picked off yesterday. There seems to be no caution on the base paths. Just continue to go and get inside the head of the pitcher. It's one of the big hallmarks of the way that Coach Mike Roberts likes this team to play. It's very, very aggressive, trying to swipe bags.
Breaking ball, Gold holds up. Now it's 3-2.
This is a big looping curveball. We haven't seen a ton of off-speed pitches from Stone because he hasn't had to throw them yet.
And when we've seen curveballs here, they haven't been at 76 miles an hour, I can tell you that much. It's usually where the slider is for the average velocity pitcher. His fastball going into 88 to 91. This guy revs it up to 96, 97, and also has a nice breaking ball in his arsenal. Going again is Bridges. It won't matter. A high fastball walks Luke Gold, and it's back-to-back.
Yeah, Carter Trice got a really good jump on that one. I know we were talking about Bridges getting picked off at first base, but Trice, not the same result. But I think this is interesting to talk about Stone and his ability on the mound, I should say. We've seen a lot of pitchers that have very big, imposing frames, and you expect them to rev it up, be able to throw the 95, 96 mile an hour fastball, and they just haven't been able to. They've been sitting at around 89, 90 miles an hour. This is a different animal, a different breed completely of pitchers. This is something that most of these guys are going to be used to as the weekend starter during their college games. They understand the speed. It's just about adjusting. So now 2 runners are aboard for the Kettleers with only 1 out. Pretty similar start to this inning for the Kettleers bats as it was for the Falmouth bats in the top half of the first.
And a similar makeup for the guy that's coming to the plate in Eric Brown. He's no slouch at the plate either. A fastball in has been problematic for opposing teams, especially considering the plus power that he brings to the table, especially in left center field.
Yeah, his 8 runs batted in can be a little bit deceiving. He's good with runners in scoring position. He just hasn't had a ton of opportunity with guys on second or third over the last couple of games. So we really haven't gotten to see his at-bats with Risp on display.
We'll see what Stone tries to give him in the first pitch.
And I'm curious here, too. We've seen a lot of double steals in this exact situation. Know the speed of Trice on second base. Look at how Luke Gold's standing. He's flipping his hips almost right at the second base bag. Huge lead, nobody covering at first.
And I think base running has been a point of emphasis for Coach Roberts and his staff. When the team's been able to swipe bags and put themselves in a better position scoring-wise, good things have happened for the Kettleers, but other times they have not tested the opposing catcher. Now, you do have players like Jimmy Crooks, and you do have the luxury of having Matt Donlin, who likes to nab runners as well, but not everybody is as good at doing that. As Brown takes another pitch, making it 3-0.
Once again, he's given up a 3-0 count. Started that same way with Carter Trice, except the pitches were up and in. Rallied back, put 2 fastballs over the middle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Brown get a little bit aggressive on one or these next 2 pitches. More than likely going to be a take situation. Give the left-handed hitting Noah Bridges a chance with the bases loaded. But if it's 3-1, it's more than likely going to be a fastball right down the pipe.
3-0. It just gets the inside corner to make it 3-1, and Brown most likely will swing away here.
I'm sure that's the expectation. More than likely going to be 2 more fastballs. Hasn't used the outside corner particularly well, so if he leaves it middle in, Brown's going to be swinging out of his shoes.
3-1, and he did swing on it. It was a fastball away. Count runs full at 3-2 now for Stone.
And I think that's the best located outside fastball that we've seen so far. When he's had it to the outside, he's either left it a little bit too low or way off the plate. There, he just got enough the plate that Brown said, okay, I have to take a hack at it. We know how selective Brown can be in these situations, though.
He does have a big gap between first and second to play with if he wants to go the other way with the ball.
I don't get what he's doing here. He's calling time the last couple of pitches. Really trying to get inside the head of Stone.
3-2. And it looks like he did. 3 straight walks for Adam Stone. Brings up Noah Bridges.
Well, that's why I'm in the booth and I'm not out on the field. Brown has a much better understanding of the mentality of a pitcher, the mind games that it takes to play. Stone's in a little bit of trouble right now. If Bridges does hit the ball on the ground, the likelihood is you're not going to be able to get him at first.
Here's the ultimate question here. Is Bridges going to swing away or lay down a bunt like he did yesterday to the right side? He had an RBI drag bunt in the 5th inning. Looks like he'll swing away. Got crossed up on a fastball, 0-1.
Well, and that makes sense to me because you see the speed that Stone has on his pitches. If that pitch hits the bat, trying to lay down a bunt, the momentum from the pitch is going to carry the ball. So if that ball gets on the ground, it's going to be more like a light ground out versus an actual bunt down the line.
And are you surprised at all, Stefan, that the infield isn't playing in? They're playing at their normal depth here with the bases loaded and only 1 out.
Well, what that tells me is they haven't read the scouting report. Bridges is one of the fastest players on this team. You're not going to get 2 here. So if you don't want to let a run come in, I would have the infield play in. But I don't make the decisions for the Falmouth Commodores. This is a lot like the first outing of Quinn Matthews. If you really break it down, bases loaded, 0-0. First inning, battled back to get 3 straight strikeouts, but here, Kettleers are threatening, and you don't want to let the Kettleers score first because they've been really good in these situations.
2-1 grounded up the middle. Curiali to the backhand, short, throw over to first will not be made. The first run of the game belongs to the Kettleers. And like you said, the scouting report doesn't matter. Bridges was busting all the way down the line at first. It's 1-0 Cotuit in the first inning.
That's a pretty piece of hitting by Bridges. Just a better play by Curiali to cover enough ground to keep that ball from going into the outfield because that might have scored 2. probably even more intelligent by Hartford not to throw the ball over to first, because Luke Gold might have tried to take home plate.
So now another UNC Wilmington product in Matt Suggs, playing left field for the second time over the last 2 games. He's 125 average with 1 hit and 8 at-bats, so still trying to heat up offensively. And a good time here with Luke Gold over at third base. Now 2 outs.
He is really struggling to find the zone. He has the stuff to get himself out of the inning. He just has made the strike zone way smaller than it needs to be. He's not trusting his ability to throw it past hitters. And once again, 3-0 count. Kettleers can pretty much just sit back and not swing if they want to.
Stone has been working at a deficit, to say the least. The command issues have started to show when Carter Trice came to the plate. And another 4-pitch walk. The inning continues.
You know, another thing that this reminds me of is yesterday's outing for Matthews against Hyannis. Let 1 run come across. The Kettleers didn't let it define them for the rest of the game. But he won't get to go as long as Quinn Matthews. Looks like they're going to make a pitching change.
So the day is done for Stone with the bases loaded. We'll see who comes in to try and clean up this mess in the bottom of the first up next. Falmouth is going to play the matchup game against Nathan Martorella. Coming in relief is number 2, Anthony DeFabia out of Stetson University. This season, 3-0, 4.50 ERA, 6 games, none of them started. Only 12 innings pitched, but 12 strikeouts to his name, as well as only 3 walks. And walks were the issue for Adam Stone.
Yeah, he allowed 4 walks in only 2/3 of an inning. I mean, you can't have a good outing with something like that, especially in the first inning. You essentially walk in a run. But I'm always curious about how teams approach using their bullpen. You never want to have to go to your bullpen in the first inning. That's obvious. But it's a very different conversation at Lowell Park because very rarely do these games go past 6, maybe 7 innings. So DeFabia can be the long reliever and only have to go into the 4th inning.
You have a tough opponent to face in Nathan Martorella. First pitch to him. And a nice one, a fastball to the outside corner, but missed 1-0. Has late movement back, I guess, to the inside of Martorella. Martorella batting .256 with 11 hits and 6 RBIs. Looking to drive in one or more here.
So he's not going to sit particularly fast with his fastball. Back-to-back pitches at 86 miles an hour. Different look. These guys are coming into the game with their analytics being told that they're going to face 96, now 10 miles an hour or less. You have to be a little bit back on the ball.
Nice block by Smith.
You essentially are, instead of waiting for a fastball from Stone, you're waiting on his slider. You are waiting on an off-speed pitch from Stone because that's what you've been told. So you can see Martorella is going to step back in the box a little bit, give himself a little bit more time, think about whether to swing or not.
2-1, and he does swing, pops it back behind us. DeFabio obviously is a great relief pitcher for the Falmouth Commodores, but it seems he also swings the bat quite well. On July 21st, just a few days ago, in their 4-2 win, he went 2 for 3 with a double against the Braves in his first appearances at the plate for Falmouth. Next pitch to Martorella, and the count is full.
Well, and that is pretty evident, right? You want to see baseball players in the CCBL. There's no other league like this where you see so many pitchers that can play in the field and vice versa. But here, he's got to throw something over the middle, and Nathan Martorella knows it.
3-2 pitch, and it was fouled away by Martorella. So another 3-2 pitch coming from DeFabio. The Kettleers base runners will get a head start here as they were on the move last time as well. The 3-2 pitch. Chop to the right side, slow roller for Armstrong. All I have to do is take one step on first. The Kettleers leave 3 stranded, but not before scoring the first run of the game in the bottom of the first. We head to the second on the Kettleers Digital Network. Well, Stefan, we're saying something that we don't often get to say early. Jake Brooks has a little bit of run support here at Lowell Park. After scoring the first run of the game against the Falmouth Commodores, they did leave 3 stranded after DeFabio came in. But Brooks back at work against the 6, 7, and 8 hitters for Falmouth.
Well, and it's not just Jake Brooks who doesn't have that luxury. It's pretty much every Kettleers pitcher. This team is not a team that scores early in most cases. They really like to take their time. And in a lot of games, time is of the essence, particularly at Lowell Park.
So now Brooks can focus on doing what he does, and if a run comes across, you're really technically back at zeros if it's a 1-1 scoreline. He'll deal with Anthony Hall, who's batting .221 this season with 15 hits, 2 home runs, and 6 RBIs. If you're throwing a high fastball, making it 1-2.
Brooks has almost yet to be behind in the count so far this game.
And he seems locked in and focused. When you talk to him, he doesn't put too much weight into his pitching. He's always trying to learn and get better. But he wants to have a better start than he did against Bourne, which is even hard to say out loud because his start was so good against Bourne. As that's chopped to the right side, but foul. Luke Gold had it covered. Coach Roberts with Lauren Kirkley after that game was talking about how both pitchers did so well in relief. And of course, one of them being Jake Brooks. Said, you know, the 3-run 5th inning that came in, I don't even look at it. As this next pitch is popped up, Donlin moving back. Will it be another chance to hit our awning? It does not this time. Some fans had to get out of the way.
Well, and Jake Brooks, I know we talk about it quite a bit, but he's the difference between being a pitcher and a thrower, right? He has very good sequencing. He understands how to pitch. And there's a lot of guys at his age and his youth that just want to throw the ball as hard as they can. He knows how to work a count. He knows how to work a batter. He knows how to get inside the mind of the guy at plate. Just throw pitches over the strike zone and get him to swing and miss.
What a good start to the second inning it would be if he could get Anthony Hall to swing and miss. The 2-2 pitch, that's grounded past the glove of Eric Brown that's headed for the gap. Hall's not going to try to advance to second base. A leadoff base runner to start the second inning in Anthony Hall.
Yep, just left it a little bit too far over the middle, was going for that outside corner. Against the left-handed bat, drops the head of the bat. It's a very Nathan Martorella-esque swing.
So Jake Brooks will turn focus to Curiali out of UCLA, his teammate, who's batting 188 this season. With 15 hits, 2 home runs, and 14 batted in. You have to remember, Brooks, before last start, was leading the CCBL in ERA with a .43 ERA. Now, he has a 1.42 ERA, which is good for 6th in the league.
Well, and he was putting up Jacob deGrom level numbers for those who follow Major League Baseball. We told him about that, and he had no idea. He just goes out there and pitches.
Much like he had no idea that he was an all-star. As he gets Curiali out in front off of a nice slider, and it's good to see that.
He's just somebody that you can approach and have a conversation with that doesn't even realize what his potential is. He has a lot of confidence, as you can see on the mound, but he has no idea the limits that he can reach as a pitcher, as a baseball player, and it's pitches like that that show you exactly how far number 33 can go in this game.
And he's not afraid to throw repeat pitches. All we've had to see is that fastball, the four-seam, then the slider as well. He also features a changeup that he's been working on. He said that it's gotten a lot better since being at UCLA and now coming here with Coach Roberts' instruction. So he'll throw over to first. The changeup has been seemingly a pitch that most pitchers have had to retool and learn under Coach Roberts' tutelage.
Martorella holding on the runner at first base is interesting because he's not on the first base bag. Sorry, Gold.
Light fly ball into center field. That's going to get down for a base hit. No advance from Anthony Hall, and now runners on first and second here in the second inning for Falmouth.
Those are back-to-back pitches that these aren't gimmies. I mean, Jake Brooks is hitting his spots. And you could see him laughing with Curiali, their teammates over at UCLA. He's smiling, hates that he let his teammate beat him on that one. But that was a good pitch. Had to get his hands extended and poke it out to center field. Light contact. Unfortunately, now the Kettleers are in a bit of a hole with 2 runners aboard, nobody out. That 1-0 lead looks a lot smaller right now in the position that they're in.
Jonathan French takes a fastball in the dirt, and Eric Brown playing directly behind second base in case Donlin tries to throw behind the runner, which we've seen time and time again. French this season, 196, 9 hits, 2 home runs, and 6 RBIs, but not before Donlin will have a conversation with his starting pitcher.
See all essentially the infielders that are right down the middle coming in and having a convo about what they're going to do with Hall over at second base. Brooks does have a really good pickoff move. We've seen it work over on the first base bag, which was the point that I was making about Luke Gold. He's not holding the runner on by keeping his foot on the base. He's staying inside the runner. Maybe that's a lack of comfortability at that spot, because I think when we've seen Nathan Martorella do it, he is on the bag. But right now, the only focus Jake Brooks should have is getting out Jonathan French in whatever way he can that isn't a long, long fly out to either right or center field.
The 1-0 now. Chopped over to Trice. He'll pump and throw it wide of second base. Rounding third and trying to come home will score the first run of the game for Falmouth. A long throw from Bridges over to Trice is not in time. So a throwing error from the double-clutching Carter Trice brings it even here in the second.
Well, that's just unfortunate. Carter Trice hasn't had to make a play like that, and we've seen so few 5-4 putouts this season just in general. Trice more used to being on the receiving end of that throw, but one that the Kettleers needed. Now it's a totally different spot. You let the Commodores capitalize on a physical mistake. But Brooks isn't going to earn that run.
And this has been another problem for the Kettleers. When Jake Brooks has been on, the errors have also been on. As he throws a strike to Luke Boyers from TCU, left-handed hitter. And he goes again, this time a changeup. No balls and 2 strikes, still nobody out. So the question is, how do you rally behind your pitcher and not let that happen? Trice could have very easily stepped on third base and possibly gone third to first in a 5-3 double play, but instead threw it way wide of Eric Brown. 0-2, light grounder. Eric Brown has to move on. Nice play, quickly gathering and throwing to first. He got him in time, but it does score the second run of the game in Michael Curiali. It's 2-1 Falmouth. And Luke Boyers gets his 3rd RBI of the season.
That is just an unbelievable play by Eric Brown. He stabs the ball by going to his left, slides over, gets his uniform dirty. That's just the type of gritty player that Eric Brown is. Once again, Jake Brooks really not the guy to blame for this inning. He has 2 runners aboard. You get the light contact. You get that out. You get Eric Brown to throw him out at first base. You have 2 down with a runner on third. A lot of me goes back to this play with Trice. Why don't you just tag the runner that's coming towards you? Or tag the base. Get the lead runner if you don't have confidence making that throw over to second base. But in the heat of the moment, you can't really fault anybody.
0-1 to Colden. Light contact foul back behind us. Back near us, excuse me. It stayed in the field of play. Colden last time grounded out to third on a nice play by Trice. It was a slow roller. He had to move across. And this inning possibly started the fire in the second after that throwing error to Eric Brown. So the 0-2 from Brooks. And a nice fastball at 90. Revved it up there.
Well, innings like this, it's like adding water to a fire. Like sucking the oxygen out of it completely. Cotuit scores bottom of the first inning. Falmouth comes right back and scores 2 more on unforced errors by the Kettleers.
Colden breaks his bat on a ground ball to the left side. You could hear it from here. And Brooks still going right at hitters, throwing it over the inside corner, outside corner, taking a little bit off. And make no mistake, this 2-1 scoreline is not the fault of the starting pitcher for the Kettleers. Gave up 2 base hits, of course, and then Jonathan French chopped it over to Carter Trice, who elected to go to second base with Eric Brown and overshot him wide and right
Well, and this might be either the first or the second game where Jake Brooks has had to work out of a deficit. I know he had a couple of relief appearances, but as a starter, the only game that comes to mind was when Rivertown had the error out in center field and 2 runs came in to score.
1-2 to Colden. Line drive and a nice catch by Brown. Will they double him up? They will. Eric Brown dazzling with the glove. It stays 2-1 in the second inning. We go to the bottom half on the Kettleers Digital Network. Bottom of the second inning with Donlin, Ritter, and Grady due up. Chris Carey and Stephen Carey for the Cotuit Kettleers Digital Network. It's now a 2-1 ball game after Falmouth answered with 2 runs of their own in the second inning after back-to-back base hits from Hall and Curiali. A throwing error made it even worse as Donlin takes one outside.
Well, less credit should go to Falmouth and more should go to Cotuit on that one because those were 2 runs that the Kettleers gifted the Commodores. Jake Brooks went out there. He gave up back-to-back base hits. Got a ground ball to Trice. Just sailed the throw to second base. And then, of course, he gets a ground ball to Eric Brown. I mean, this could easily still be a 1-0 game if Jake Brooks gets the same result in the next couple at bats, but the end result is the Kettleers are now behind by a run, bottom of the second inning, and this game is moving along very slowly. We're already almost an hour in, and we're not even 2 through.
3-1 to Donlin, grounded up the middle. Harford dives, collects, throws across, and Donlin beats it out. He had to lunge to get it. That's his 8th hit of the season. And the speedy catcher awkwardly walks back to first base. So that's how your second inning starts. Good hustle there from number 21 to get it started for the Kettleers in the bottom of the second inning. Now you bring up Ryan Ritter, who last game got everything going for the Kettleers in the third inning with an RBI single that drove in Nathan Martorella.
Well, and he's really seeing the ball well. Same with Matt Donlin. Had a single, later scored a run, then a deep fly out to center field. Ritter's not a freebie. He hammered the ball out into left center field. It was a single, but really barreled it up. He's been hitting pitching a whole lot better lately, just in terms of the pitches that he's been selecting to swing at. Not way out in front, not getting so far behind in the count that it's difficult to work back from it.
Ritter went down to one knee, check swing. They will appeal to Mike Hinojosa, who says he did go around, now 1-1.
And those are the types of swings that he's limited a bunch in the last couple of games. Really swinging out of his shoes on pitches in the outside. Wants to go hit it to the opposite field with that big hole on the right side.
And he lets a changeup go by, making it 2-1. DeFabia in relief of Adam Stone. We expected him to come into this inning anyway. The final line on Stone, 2/3, no hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 0 strikeouts. So everything belongs to number 2 now from here forward. As Ritter lifts it high and deep to center field, Boyers tracking back, making sure he's not at the wall. Now tagging in is Donlin. The throw will not be on time. And another alert base running play from our starting catcher moves him into scoring position.
Ritter got no help from the wind there. And that is the deepest part of the ballpark. We've only seen a couple of players hit it that far all season long. That's a good thing. Continue to see number 10 heat it up, barrel up the baseball. And Donlin, as a catcher, had the wherewithal to tag up from first, but you don't see a whole lot. So Kettleers put a runner in scoring position, have a chance to tie this game or more with Jace Grady coming up to the plate.
Grady will swing all over the first pitch, and moving back is Jace Borfin to make the catch. Donlin will tag again and will advance 90 more feet for Carter Trice.
Well, how funny is this? Matt Donlin tagging up 2 bases.
And legging out an infield single.
Well, and if you told me he was tagging up 2 bases before I watched this inning, I would have said, okay, he's going to tag up from second to third, fly ball to right field, and he's going to tag up from third to home if it's deep enough anywhere. Well, no, he tagged from first and now is tagged from second. So very different. Matt Donlin definitely getting his wind sprints in. Happy to see him out there and doing such good base running and putting the Kettleers in a position to tie this game.
So Trice is now up, and he's greeted with a curveball in the dirt, making it 1-0.
And how bad do you think Carter Trice wants to add in a run after that error in the top half of this inning? I mean, the mess really was caused by him in terms of a defensive play. Wants to help the Kets out here.
The 1-0 is a called strike at 86, making it 1-1. Steph, I can't help but notice the scoreline at 2-1, considering how the last 2 games have gone. The first game played against the Commodores, the Kettleers won 4-3. And then in the second game, they won 3-2. And now at 2-1, you would just keep the spiral going down in the right direction. Now, of course, Falmouth holds the lead. So Cotuit has to do something about that as another breaking ball comes in low, 2-1.
Well, I think I joked with Tim Crowley the last time we played at Gov Fuller Field that it was 4-3, and then it was 3-2, then it has to be 2-1, then 1-0 for the final game.
The 2-1 makes it 3-1 to Carter Trice.
And now I'm starting to notice from DeFabia that his fastball, the more he revs it up, seems like the less control he has. That one was 87, the fastest one we've seen, and it has a break to the outside versus right-handed hitters, almost like a changeup.
The 3-1, it stays up, and the first walk issued by DeFabia brings up Luke Gold.
This is exactly the man you did not want to see this inning. Already the 5th walk of the game. Luke Gold going to be very keen to just pick the pitch that he wants.
Time is called by Sparky Burns, very loud, and that pitch won't count. It was a strike, and Gold let it go by. But Luke Gold last time was one of the 3 straight walk recipients in the first inning from Adam Stone. If you even call it a recipient, I think they just take their walks and go. Carter Trice has already walked twice in this game through the first 2 innings.
Did he walk twice or did he walk Trice? That's the real question.
Well, if he walks a 3rd time, he will walk thrice.
It would be really cool if Ben Rice was still here. We could do a lot of wordplay with those 2 guys.
Trice and Rice and Mice.
And Mice. Oh, wow. Triple threat of rhymes.
In on the hands of Luke Gold. Bloop out to right field. And Borfin will make the play for the 3rd out. It'll stay 2-1 as we go into the 3rd.
So after the Commodores overtook the lead in the second inning, the Kettleers have no answer in the bottom of the second. Now it is inning number 3 with Jake Brooks back on the mound. Stephen Carey, Chris Carey for the Kettleers Digital Network. We had a bit of a conversation with the official scorer. Only one of those runs were earned by Jake Brooks. It was the first run that came across. The one that came from the throwing error by Carter Trice. So 2, 3, and 4 coming up as that one's in on the hands, but foul to the left side. 0-1 to Casey Harford, who was hit by a pitch his last time up. Pitches to the inside. Allowed him to get aboard his first time up. That was a slider. First pitch was a fastball to him in this at-bat. As Brooks tries to use the outside and misses, making it 1-1. Brooks, a guy that has been itching to get back on the mound, and I can think of no day more appropriate for him to be out here than on ladies' night here at Lowell Park. Little cue shot bounced over to Brooks. He'll flip to Gold at first base, and that's the first out of the inning. So once again, a ton of light contact for Jake Brooks to start off the game. Really has not allowed hitters to get their hands inside the baseball, barrel up anything. But another interesting thing is that he only has 1 strikeout, Chris.
Well, he's been drawing soft contact, and of course, when you consider the second inning, the way that it went, and even light fly balls to the outfield, he hasn't drawn super hard power from the Falmouth Commodores, but has just found the right ways. The ball's landed to the wrong people. Throws have gone errant. There's been things that have happened for Jake Brooks that he probably doesn't like, but he just has to go out there and throw strikes.
He's picking up the tempo with his pitches. Line drive out to center field, and Borford's going to be aboard with a 1-out single.
You talk about guys not being able to square up the ball. You can't do it much better than what Jace Borfin just did for his second hit. Right back where it came from, line drive, through the ball, and that's why he is one of the best players in the CCBL. That's his 28th hit of the season. He just has shown no signs of slowing down. That's why he's in the 3 spot every day for the Commodores.
Well, Chris, I'm no rocket scientist, but Borfin came into today's game with a .299 batting average. Now with 2 singles already in this contest, you have to think he'll be well above 300 moving into the next game.
You'd have to think.
As the first pitch to Chris Armstrong is yanked foul to the right side. 0-1.
And there are a lot of awards that happen at the end of the season, and it's not about thinking about them. All these players want to do the same thing, win a championship for their respective clubs. But Borfin has a real shot at the batting title here in the CCBL. With now an above 300 batting average, he may have jumped up a few spots from 5th to now maybe even 2nd or 3rd. I think Christian Napchik, of Bourne, leads the league. I'm fairly certain. I'm not too positive, as I'll check point streak right now to make sure.
Another piece of soft contact that rolls foul, had a ton of spin on it. It's 0-2 to Armstrong. That hit to Borfin, already the 4th hit allowed by Jake Brooks. For perspective, that's almost 1/5 of the total hits he's given up this season coming into today's game with 21 hits allowed.
Christian Napchik in 85 at-bats leads the CCBL with a 353 batting average, or 353 I should say.
0-2 from Brooks. High fly ball lifted out to right field. Bridges coming on, that's going to get over the wall. 2-run home run for Chris Armstrong, and Falmouth has increased their lead to 3. Something we have not seen from Jake Brooks in back-to-back starts. He's given up a home run. That ball was hammered out to right field.
You have to give a little bit of credit to Bridges and Wright. He tried to climb the wall to bring the home run back, but it got out in a hurry, especially at that part of right field. I haven't seen a home run really hug the line as close as it did here at Lowell Park off the bat of Chris Armstrong. And it's funny because that's what Coach Roberts was trying to get his players to do, is curl the ball down the line, put a lot of power behind it. Right there, Armstrong Manufacturers runs 3 and 4 for Falmouth.
It's 1-1 to Taylor Smith. Left it middle in. He didn't miss it. And Jake Brooks not having his best outing so far, but again, it's going to be up to the bats. Sometimes you got to give your starting pitcher a little bit of love, as that one's bounced foul to the left side. Bats have been a struggle, and we've talked about it with this team in general. When the pitching's been on, the bats have been off. And when the bats have been on, the pitching has been off. And with a bullpen that is, let's face it, as touch and feel as it has been over the last week or so, you need your starter to go as many innings as you can, and the number for Brooks is 5+. Right now, with 4 runs already given up to Falmouth, I don't see that as a likely possibility, and I don't want to quit on my boy, but they may have to turn it over to the bullpen. 2-2 to Taylor Smith. Line drive and a foul ball.
And this is what I just want to highlight on Jake Brooks in this outing alone. It just seems like they're putting the ball in play a lot more, drawing harder contact than it's been seen. He hasn't hung his pitches. He hasn't left it fully over the middle. It's just Falmouth is ambushing these pitches. This game's very important for Cotuit, and you wouldn't want to have any other starter on the mound for them, even considering this scoreline right now. But Cotuit, at a deficit, is going to continue to have to answer at Lowell Park, which seems to be a common trend so far this season. And that's just surprising and unfortunate, because you want the bats to come alive. You want Jake Brooks to have a great outing, and so far it hasn't been awful. But he hasn't pitched to soft contact as much as he has before in this season.
Jake Brooks walks him. That's his first walk of the game, only his 3rd of the season. That's something you're not going to see very often from number 33. Taylor Smith stands on first base with only 1 out. Falmouth has already managed to score 4 runs here at Lowell Park. Already doubled their run total from their game yesterday against the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. Commodores picked up just their 3rd win of the season at home in that game. As there's a big swing and a miss from Anthony Hall, who reached and later scored with a single in that 2nd inning.
I know we have at least 3. Sometimes we've struggled at home as well. I mean, not the same way that Falmouth has, but the darkness is the first thing that comes to mind when we're at a deficit, because Coach Roberts dips into the bullpen when we have a lead and sometimes uses the time management to his advantage. Now Falmouth, as a very slow start to this game begins, can start doing that as well.
1-1 count to Anthony Hall. Jake Brooks working from the stretch. The pitch. Fly ball, that's going to be a tough play. Coming on to make the catch is Suggs, and that's the 2nd out of the inning. Tough to see around the pole up here in the booth, but looked like an easy enough play for number 16 out in left field, and he's looking comfortable in a spot that he typically doesn't play, Chris.
And that's the biggest question mark. Other than the bullpen, the left field spot has been changing around for many games, whether it would be Brett Roberts, Eldridge Figueroa. Alex Sayer was going to be over there before he got released, and now you have a catcher playing over there that looks fairly comfortable, as you said, even in that shade that's starting to careen over the 3rd base bag.
So here comes battle number 2 of the Bruins. Michael Curiali had a single, and Jake Brooks wasn't happy that he gave it up to his teammate. I think there's going to be a little extra in the tank versus number 6. Trying to get out of this inning where 2 runs have already come across for the Commodores. Line drive right at Ryan Ritter. Great play. Falmouth manages to score 2 more. The score 4-1 will go to the bottom half of the 3rd on the Kettleers Digital Network. 4-1's your score here at Lowell Park. Kettleers trailing division foe, the Falmouth Commodores. Stephen Carey, Chris Carey for the Kettleers Digital Network. And Chris, this is a big stretch of games coming up. 10 games left to play this season. 5 of them are going to be at home at Lowell Park. 5 are going to be elsewhere. And 8 out of the 10 games are going to be against Western Division opponents.
Well, we play this team at Lowell Park one more time on Sunday, August 1st. That's the Cape League Game of the Week on WEEI with John Garner and Larry Egan. So you won't want to miss that one. But right now, the Cotuit Kettleers are only focused on this game, considering the implications that come with that. You think about if Cotuit loses this game and Wareham, who's starting Paul Skeens on the mound. He came back for the Gatemen, who have reloaded after a bunch of their players went to Team USA and now coming back. Wareham's able to win and Falmouth is able to win. It creates a whole new dynamic change in the second place spot where it would be tied. Now, they do measure it by win percentage that you got to talk to Chuck Sturdivant, the president of the CCBL.
I did talk to Chuck Sturdivant, and he kind of briefed me on how this whole thing works given the amount of ties, and win percentage makes the most sense as the 1-1 pitch comes into Brown. He'll bounce it foul right behind the third base bag. The way Chuck explained it to me was that every team gets a point for a win and a half a point for a tie. Now, the way you calculate it is you take that total number. So let's say you have 15 wins and 2 ties. You have 16 points total. You take that number and you divide it by the total amount of games played. That's how you get your win percentage. Cotuit's sitting at around 46% for a win percentage. Falmouth sitting at around 44%. So in a season where you have ties and lots of teams aren't going to be playing a similar amount of games due to rain, cancellations, fog, darkness in the case of Lowell Park, it makes the most sense to use something as consistent as win percentage, as a 2-2 count is incoming for Eric Brown Jr. High fly ball lifted out to left center field. Ranging back is Boyers, and it's going to stay in the yard. How many times have we said that for Eric Brown Jr.? Just hits one right on the nose, doesn't get any help from the wind. That could have been a game-changing home run if it managed to get out of the yard.
And he hit it in one of the deepest parts of Lowell Park. The shadows started to loom over. Nice play there by Boyers. He's not getting enough credit right now after that deep fly ball to center field by Ryan Ritter that was almost a home run, and now in left center field had to cover a lot of ground to make sure Eric Brown didn't at least have extra bases. But
as Bridges swings and misses on a slider outside the zone, making it 0-1.
I wanted to just go back to what you were saying about the percentages. I didn't think anybody in the Cape League was able to understand that the amount of ties that have happened already, especially in the East, have been a large majority of the games. I mean, considering Whitey has 6 ties already. Every team in the East has at least 2. Every team in the West, other than Cotuit and Hyannis, has at least 2 ties.
Yeah, and almost unfortunately for Cotuit, no ties means no extra points there. Been in a win or loss team. No in between with the men in the pinstripes today. This is a 2-1 count to Bridges, but that's the thing, is you have to reward teams for ties, especially when you mandate that we're not going to play extra innings. We're not going to allow these teams to play it to the bitter end, just whether you're going to save arms or try and keep it that way. You have to reward teams for ties, as Bridges has a hitter's count incoming. 3 balls and 1 strike. But that sets Bourne very comfortably in first place. That is evident in about any way you can measure it. 3-1. Bridges, light fly ball, blooper. That's going to get down into left field. Noah Bridges with another soft piece of contact. This time he reaches without an out coming for the Commodores. He grounded into a 4-6 fielder's choice his last time up. But the Kettleers get the base runner that they so desperately need here in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
And a nice swing there with 1 out. You get it going. Pass it over to your school teammate as well, and Matt Suggs, who walked. Now you have a lefty-righty matchup here, so just consider all the options. Doesn't seem like the ball is jumping off the bat, especially to left field. No presence of wind at Lowell Park. Still, Couple of base hits, walks, you never know what can happen in the third inning.
86-mile-an-hour fastball gets the outside corner. It's 0-1. And another thing to consider is Noah Bridges' speed over at first base. Haven't tested the arm of Smith behind the plate. Bridges would be just the guy to do it if he can get a good jump, but we haven't seen very many breaking balls. 86 miles an hour is the fastball. Suggs, swing and a miss. He's behind the count 0-2. So, folks, if you're looking at point streak for your standings, don't. That's just the best way to say it. Use the calculation that the CCBL president recommends. That's how you'll know if the Kettleers will be making it to the playoffs or not, and this is going to be a huge week. As the 0-2 pitch comes into Suggs, it's way upstairs. Chris, you want to break down the schedule for the Kettleers fans that don't have it right in front of them? Because I think it's really important to talk about that 8 of those 10 games are against Western Division rivals, opponents, and that is a gauntlet of a schedule down the stretch. Not just for Cotuit, but for the rest of the West. It's the 1-2, swing and a miss by Suggs, and he's down on strikes.
There's your first strikeout from DeFabio, but I'd love to, Stefan. The next game tomorrow, if it's played due to the rain situation going on tomorrow, at Spillane Field would be against Wareham. Now, Cotuit has had a bunch of success against Wareham there. Won 2 games in a matter of 3 days, scoring 6 runs in both affairs. Now, they did give up 1 in one game and 0 in the first time they played over there. Then they go to McKeon Park to play the hot Hyannis Harbor Hawks. Now, I know that we beat them yesterday in a shortened game, but at McKeon Park, they've caused us some trouble. And then we play the Bourne Braves at Lowell. We're looking to continue to dominate in the CCBL West. So those 3 games, they're not locks for complete wins right now. They're just not.
His first pitch to Martorella is chopped foul to the right side, almost the exact way that he was retired in the first inning. The only difference wasn't in fair territory, and the bases weren't loaded. So you have to think that 18 is going to be up there swinging with a ton of prejudice. Wanted to plate a couple more runs, would be a different situation if he was able to do that in the first inning. But now, bases are not loaded, and Bridges stands on first base with 2 outs. Pitch, Bridges going, foul ball, Martorella.
Martorella has done a great job all season long staying alive, fighting off pitches, working the opposition, especially in relief. The deeper and deeper he goes, the better he gets at the plate. I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to shoot a liner into center field here.
Fastball misses inside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And it's weird to call that a fastball. Looks a lot like a changeup coming out of the hand, but it just sits at the same velocity. I mean, I guess that's possible, but we'll see what he goes with here with Martorella at the plate. 1-2, foul back off the padding of Taylor Smith.
And I agree with you on the changeup. It's just hard to fathom that a pitcher doesn't utilize a fastball, but it does move a lot like a changeup. I can't see that it's a 4-seam fastball. It's got to be a 2-seam. But the way that it moves is like a changeup. I would say that the lower 80s, as a left-handed pitcher, especially a reliever, you almost have to have a changeup at this point. But using it so consistently that DeFabio has done, especially against Martorella, wants to run in on his hands, get him to roll over. That's happened before, and it could happen again.
1-2, Bridges is going. It's upstairs. The throw will skid out into center field. Bridges slips and falls, and he'll have to go back to second base.
It was impressive how quickly he popped back up off of second base after sliding in head first. He could have taken third base there. Smith, not the greatest throw. I don't think it would have gotten Bridges anyway. So now Martorella, with a runner in scoring position, has a chance to possibly bring one closer.
Late to cover the bag was Harford at shortstop, but we've seen that quite a bit from catchers here at Lowell Park. It's just not accurate throws on stealing attempts. Now Martorella has a runner in scoring position, has a chance to bring the Kettleers within 2. DeFabio looks off the runner, the 2-2 pitch. Martorella got under it. Curiali will call for it, and he'll make the catch for the third out of the inning. The side is retired. Your score 4-1. Let's see if the Kettleers go with Brooks or someone else as we enter the fourth on the Kettleers Digital Network. Well, we found out a couple of things during the break. One is that Jake Brooks is back out for his fourth inning of work. The next, arguably more important, Chris learned basic arithmetic. We had him run through the winning percentage formula to calculate what it would look like if Cotuit lost this game and both Falmouth and Wareham picked up wins. And it's pretty interesting to see, but we'll approach that after this at bat by Jonathan French, who reached on that error by Carter Trice his first time up.
And it was an interesting statistic to think about because it totally puts your mind in a different feeling about how this season has gone. Because who we thought might be in the driver's seat isn't exactly in the driver's seat, Stefan.
You're absolutely right. We'll get right to that after this pitch. French line drive over the head of Trice at third base. He's going to get aboard with a leadoff single. That is his 10th hit of the season, and it was a pretty one. Once again, we're seeing exactly what Coach Mike Roberts wanted his players to put on display of the opposition.
Nice hit driving it over the head of Trice. There was no play there. Line drives continue to be a problem. Brooks is allowing very hard contact. Just trying to figure it out here. Now with the bottom of the order, just top to bottom for Falmouth, they've figured it out thus far.
Boyers is going to square around for a bunt. He pops it up, but hits the ground. So let's break down these statistics here, Chris. You were absolutely right. Who we thought would be in the driver's seat in terms of making a play for that second spot behind Cotuit is not the case when you do the statistics. Cotuit, should they lose today, would have a .44 win percentage, as the slider misses inside, making it 1-1. Falmouth, if they win head-to-head, would win a .4615 win percentage, so almost good for 0.02% more. So there's a fastball downstairs. And finally, Wareham, if they win today, would only be at a .428. And the reason for that, Chris, is because they've played more games.
Wareham's played 28 games this season, counting this one today. Cotuit on their 27th. Falmouth, only their 26th game played.
As Boyer's skies went out towards right center field, Bridges will make the catch for the first out of the inning.
So you think about the way that works, right, Stefan? Falmouth, the team that's in fourth place according to point streak. Like you said, if you view point streak, don't start using this method. 1 point for a win, half a point for a tie or draw, whatever you might call it, and then divide it by the amount of games that are played. And you see that Falmouth, with a win here, would hold a much better record in second place. And Cotuit, in the next 3, 4, 5 games that they're going to play, is going to have a tough time.
Donlan slides to keep that one in front with Cody Colden at the plate. He's 0 for 2 on the day. Lined out to second base. Got that 4-6 double play. Got Brooks out of a big second inning. But another interesting thing to think about, Chris, is that this is one of the few times that the Kettleers can say they're happy games got canceled. 1-0 slider catches the outside part of the zone, and it's 1-1.
And you compare the next 3 games from Cotuit to Falmouth. Falmouth is the immediate favorites for the next 3. They play Chatham back-to-back. Once at Gov Fuller and then once at Veterans. And then they take Hyannis at home. So the 2 teams that are in the bottom of their respective divisions, Falmouth could easily win 3 there and hold a commanding lead in second place, it seems.
It is the dark horse, and I'm not just talking about their black jerseys today here at Lowell Park. As somebody who was staunchly against Bourne's actions in the early parts of the season, that may be something that the Kettleers benefit from as Brown backpedals, and he almost loses it in the sun, but he makes the catch.
Good play there by Brown, and I think that you're right, Stefan. Though I disagree with how the bus situation went, Cotuit had the lead, which probably would have helped their cause right now. That game, had Bourne have come back, may have been a difference maker as well. So really, today's game and tomorrow's game are very important for Cotuit's season. And right now, they're not doing so hot offensively. They got to figure something out before the light goes out.
Well, you see 4-1 the score. And that's happened in all sorts of fashion. We can wipe out the second inning on Jake Brooks because of the error made by the third baseman Carter Trice, but Brooks did allow a 2-run home run in the third as this one is lifted out towards center field. Suggs tracked back, now coming on to make the catch for the third out of the inning. Brooks does good work in the fourth. Let's see if the Bats can do the same on the Kettleers Digital Network. Bottom of the fourth on the Kettleers Digital Network. 4-1 your score with Falmouth leading Cotuit at their home ballpark. And we brought up some pretty interesting points about the statistics as Matt Donlan squares around to bunt, of all things. He's already done something that you can't really say a catcher does all that often in today's game. He had an infield hit right up the middle. It was fielded by Harford. Donlan gets underneath it and pops it up towards Armstrong on the right side. Right near the bag, glasses gleaming. He'll make the catch for the first out of the inning.
Going from legging out an infield single to there, jumping on the first pitch or so. And he has been a pop-out type of guy when he gets under the ball. That's not uncommon from him.
Someone who teed up the ball had a perfect swing his last time up. Ryan Ritter just couldn't get it outside the ballpark. Gave one a ride to dead center field. He'll take a look at a first pitch fastball that gets the call strike 0-1. Ritter really anchoring this order as he rips one into the Kettleers dugout. Saw a couple of guys have to duck and get out of the way. Always have to test your reflexes, even when you're not on the field or at the plate. And Ritter says, I'm a shortstop. I have to deal with more than that every inning. As the pitch from DeFabia runs way outside, it's 1-2. But Chris, this game against Wareham at their place tomorrow could be arguably an even bigger game than this game is. Kettleers have been known to be a streaky team as the 1-2 pitch comes in and he fouls it back to the right side.
And Falmouth doesn't really care at this point. If Falmouth gets the win today, they'll be laughing either way. Because Wareham with a loss tomorrow would add yet another game, which would be their 29th game played, which would remove them even closer from being able to get back into the race. Falmouth could possibly win against Chatham, then go the next day. If Cotuit wins, they're still adding games to their book.
Ritter, high fly ball lifted out to center field. Boyers is going to have to make a play. It's off the glove. Ritter's going to hustle into second base standing up for a one-out double in the fourth.
I'm wondering if they're going to score that a double or an error in center field. Because it wasn't a routine play. Boyers has been excellent all day long. I would score this a hit. I feel like this is a hit.
Still waiting for confirmation. Kettleers have only managed 2 hits. Now it comes on the scoreboard. That is a double by Ryan Ritter with 1 out in the bottom of the 4th inning, and it comes at a very good time. But, Chris, I want to continue the point that you're making about the next couple of games in terms of Wareham getting yet another game played tomorrow. How about this for a curveball? No pun intended. What if it rains and the game gets canceled like it's predicted? That really puts a fork in the plans of the Falmouth Commodores if they can manage to escape Lowell Park with a win today.
I totally agree. And as we continue to look at Falmouth's schedule, they are playing in Falmouth tomorrow against Chatham.
I think you hit the wrong mic, buddy.
Well, yeah, I sneezed. My bad. I tried to get out of the way, tried to do it, but it happens. Falmouth is playing in Falmouth tomorrow, so the weather possibly could affect them as well. But if they hold the lead, they're still the ones laughing. Just like you're laughing at me sneezing.
Ritter's going to go. Here comes the throw down. It is in time. Ryan Ritter gets nabbed at third base, and Smith has gunned him down. So the Kettleers put a runner in scoring position, and just like that, they lose him. So 2 are down in the bottom of the 4th inning. Ritter wanted to make the job easy for Jace Grady. Now it's still very simple. Just get aboard. He might do just that with a 3-0 count. If this game ends in this result, there's going to be a couple of plays that they look back to that really defined why the outcome was the way that it was as the shadows start to creep in on Lowell Park at just around 6:30 here in Massachusetts. Grady way out in front, popped it up. Smith is going to try and see if it's going to stay in playable territory, but it bounces right behind my grandparents. Good to see that nobody was injured. But it is ladies' night, so I hope a young lady maybe got a souvenir.
And that's a good segue. I'd like to just take a moment to say what a wonderful job all of the ladies of our intern crew have done, and Leah Ridpath, who's put us all together. It's not about ladies in baseball or anything like that. They are so knowledgeable, so fantastic to work around.
as Grady hits a line drive out to left center field. That is going to get down to the wall. Chase Grady chugging into second, and that's 2 doubles this inning. Grady does his job and gets aboard with 2 outs.
Nice inside-out swing there, liner to left center field. Nobody was getting there, and Grady continues his offensive tear for his 10th hit of the CCBL. And he's done his job. Now the Kettleers offense has to rally behind him and Ritter. Not likely that they'll send him over to third base after Smith gunned down Ryan Ritter, but I just wanted to go back to what I was saying. Now, the ladies' night, we appreciate all of the women in our industry, in our sports world. We would be nothing without them now at this point. Lauren does such a great job for us in a close proximity. We appreciate them very much today and every day. So thank you for all that you do for the Kettleers.
Very well put, Chris. As Trice swings and misses on the first pitch he sees. But that's a bittersweet double by Jace Grady. Hit that one for the ladies, but with Ryan Ritter getting tagged out on a stealing attempt to third base, you could have had another run come across. So it's unfortunate. Didn't let Jace Grady swing away, but he is swinging a scalding bat in the top of the order. Probably the most consistent hitter of late for the Cotuit Kettleers.
Oh, absolutely. And he's going to start climbing up the leaderboards of average and other things. Been so effective since he's come here. And it came out of nowhere. It started in Harwich with that home run in the 9th inning.
Little ground ball. That's going to get away from DeFabia, and he can't make a play on it. So Carter Trice is going to reach on an infield base hit, and 2 runners are aboard with Luke Gold coming to the plate. So there may be a little bit of life for the Kettleers here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Not before a conversation's had, unless he goes to the bullpen here with 2 outs in the 4th inning, and he is going to do it. You have to consider DeFabia gave up 3 straight hits from Ritter, Grady, and Trice. Now you're facing the hottest hitter on the Kettleers and somebody who is one of the only power threats to this team. Probably going to bring in a right-hander, if I were to guess.
We will find out exactly who they bring in just a moment on the Kettleers Digital Network. So, Chris, you were absolutely right. Commodores are going to play the matchup game versus one of the Kettleers' most dangerous hitters in Luke Gold. It is Daniel Garcia, also out of Stetson. So from one teammate to another, that's how the relief shakes out for Falmouth. The Kettleers are looking to make it easy like a Sunday morning versus the Commodores.
Yeah, I'm not going to warrant that one with a response. Garcia.
Do you get why that makes sense, though?
Yeah.
Why?
Sure.
Why? I want to hear you on air say why it makes sense, because I don't think you get it.
I don't think I do, and I don't think I need to at this
The
point.
band that sings the song Easy is called the Commodores, Chris.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Good. All right. Next pitch.
First pitch from Garcia misses outside, 1-0. No Lionel Richie for you. It's past your time, even though you were born 17 minutes before me.
If I'm going to get Richie, I'm going to get rich with gold here at the plate. 3-run home run. I'm calling it right now.
That is a bold prediction to make. But like I said, I know you were born 17 minutes ago, but sometimes I feel like you were born
17 minutes.
Actually, that works better. I know you were born 17 minutes before me, but I feel like you were born yesterday at sometimes.
I don't know basic arithmetic, and now I'm born 17 minutes ago.
You might as well if you don't know the Commodores, as Garcia places in a fastball for a called strike, making it 1-1.
Garcia came onto this team 6 days ago. That was the last activation that the Commodores made. Not the band, the team, Stefan.
1-1, slider misses outside, 2-1. And two-out rallies are something that the Kettleers are no strangers to. They'd like to become familiar with it once again here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Luke Gold at the plate, down by 3 runs. 2-1. Luke Gold finds a gap out to left field. That's going to get down and score 1 at least. It gets behind the left fielder Hall, and he's going to hustle into second for a double.
So I may have been wrong about the 3-run home run, but I was somewhat close. He had a solo RBI extra base hit, putting 2 runners in scoring position for Eric Brown, who also could hit a 3-run home run. So Gold gets his 19th RBI. Trice moves to third base. 4 straight hits now. And Garcia in an uncomfortable spot here against the Kettleers in the 4th.
And boy, Eric Brown has had a couple of opportunities with runners in scoring position. None bigger than this moment right here with runners on second and third and 2 down. First pitch to Brown. High and outside, 1-0. So the strategy did not pay off for Falmouth. Still could work. If they can get Eric Brown here, limit the damage to only 1 run in the 4th inning. 1-0. Just a bit upstairs, and Brown looking locked in at the plate so far in this at-bat. Has not been bad recently, but has not been at his best. All that could get wiped out with 1 swing of the bat right here. 2-0. Slider misses way outside, and now the Commodores running the risk of loading up the bases for Noah Bridges on deck.
Certainly a 3-0 take here, you have to think.
.3-0. Right down Main Street, gets the call. 3 balls and 1 strike. This is the precise moment where you start to hear have a hit chance over behind the Kettleers dugout.
Or behind, the broadcast table.
Here comes the 3-1 pitch. Another fastball outside corner. Eric Brown doesn't seem to agree with that one.
We say have a hit to our own Lauren Kirkley at times for completely different reasons. Have a sideline hit, which should be coming up fairly soon. Excited about that.
Shameless plug, but it's okay when it's with our own people, right, Chris? And Eric Brown's going to call time. There's going to be a meeting between Smith and Garcia on the mound.
But at 3-2, you never know what adjustment you can make here, because now Garcia's put himself in a situation where he's back in the count against a very lethal Eric Brown. All he needs to do is have a base hit and possibly score 2 runs. Luke Gold has decent speed from second base. The outfield playing a little bit shallower than normal, which is interesting considering the last time Brown was up, he had a deep high fly ball to left center field that was 5 or so feet away from clearing the wall in left center.
The payoff pitch. He got underneath it. If it stays in the field of play, it does, and Armstrong makes the catch. So the Kettleers strand 2, but they add 1 more in the 4th. 4-2 ball game. Go to the 5th on the Kettleers Digital Network.
Jake Brooks' day is done. Cotuit goes to their first relief pitcher in Logan Adams, who's making just his second appearance in the pinstripes for Cotuit. Last game he played was July 20th, 4 days ago against Orleans. Went 1 1/3, gave up 2 earned runs off of 3 hits and 2 strikeouts, but didn't walk anybody. Higher velocity guy, right-hander out of North Carolina State University, standing at 6'6". First person he will face is Jay Sporfin, who already has 2 singles in this game. He pops this one up. Donlin moving back. And once again, our grandparents covering themselves because they think the ball's going to hit them. But Cotuit adds another run in the bottom of the 4th inning. It is closer at a 4-2 scoreline, but more needs to happen. Pitching needs to shore up, especially against the guy at the plate in Jay Sporfin. Gets him out in front off of a nice changeup. Now 1-2.
Well, and Adams, again, is coming from a program that had a bit of heartbreak this year, so feel for him. Happy to have him here in a different shade of red, but in a pretty crucial situation. You know, if you can't get a national championship because of some rules, maybe you can get a CCBL championship. I know it doesn't quite feel the same, but he has the chance to be a part of something special, and we haven't gotten to see him over the last couple of games.
The 2-2 pitch. Sporfin fouls it back. Adams in relief of Jake Brooks. His final line, 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. And I think it's safe to say at this point that this was probably Brooks' worst outing as a starter, and it wasn't bad by any sense of the word, but not representative of how he's played all season long.
Well, and when you set the standard so high as a pitcher, it's really difficult to continue that level of production. For so long, we were expecting 7+ strikeout games where he'd go 5 innings. You can't expect that from him every single time, but he is still, and more than likely will be for the rest of the season, the best option as a starting pitcher for the Kettleers.
As Sporfin reaches base for the 3rd time this game, Adams starts off his relief appearance with his first walk in the CCBL. It is against Jay Sporfin, whose on-base percentage continues to rise higher and higher.
Well, and interestingly enough, that's only the 2nd walk allowed by Kettleers pitching. So that tells me Falmouth has earned these runs, at least 2 of them. Of course, there was the error in the 2nd inning, but besides that, they have really...
As that throw gets away, Adams did a stutter step to throw across. Sporfin rounding 2nd and heading for 3rd. He'll get in there easily, and the errors continue for Cotuit's defense.
I feel like we've seen that exact play before. Not necessarily from Adams, but a little jump throw on his pickoff attempt. Very awkward, got away from Gold. And man, it's crazy to say, but I think Sporfin could have had a chance at scoring on that play. Got so far tucked into that corner on the right side.
I absolutely agree. Nice change up there to get Armstrong to swing and miss. He has a 2-run homer in this game that created the 2-1 score line and added 2 more, making it 4-1. Now it's 4-2, and Armstrong could possibly bring in another run. As that pitch misses inside, another guy that continues to be consistent for both the University of Florida and now the Falmouth Commodores, who are playing with a sense of urgency. Here with 11 games left in the season, counting this one. The 1-1 in the dirt, blocked by Donlin. And Falmouth, from average standpoints, is only batting .214 as a team with 122 runs scored, .419 on the flip side with 118 runs allowed. That's a 4-run differential versus Cotuit batting .245 as a team with 121 runs scored, very similar to Falmouth's 122, a 4.39 ERA. 123 runs allowed.
Well, so you're comparing +4 to -2, right? The Kettleers have allowed 2 more runs than they've been able to score, and a lot of that has happened because of that big game for Chatham. It's been close all season, but it's very indicative of what this team has been like. They hovered around 500, had some close games, so of course your runs allowed is going to be similar to your runs scored, but very similar for Falmouth.
Next pitch to Armstrong is low and inside, make it 3-1. And a hitter's count here. If he swings away and puts one to the outfield, that would possibly score the 5th run of the game, making it a 3-run lead for Falmouth. 3-1. Line drive up the middle, and that is the 5th run of the game and the 3rd RBI of Chris Armstrong's day. He got Adams to leave it over the middle. It's 5-2.
Leave it over the middle is right. With the infield playing in, smokes it. There was no chance for any type of play to be made. That ball was hammered right up the middle. Falmouth is capitalizing on every opportunity that they've been given. Now they've scored at least 3 runs because of an error in this game. And Coach Mike Roberts is going to look back at that and be really frustrated with that number, because this team defensively and intellectually is better than that. They should not be making the amount of errors that they've been making over the last few games. Had an error last night against Hyannis. Had 2 the night before against Chatham. Had another 2 against Orleans a couple of nights ago. So count it up. That's 4 straight games with an error. With a team as good defensively as Cotuit is, really don't want to see that continue, because those mistakes could be extremely costly in the playoffs.
Cotuit entering this game was second to last in fielding percentage with a .964 percentage. Hyannis in last place. Now with these 2 errors, if the Harbor Hawks don't commit one, I have to think Cotuit bounces back to the bottom where they were for most of the season. And that's hard to believe. This team has so much talent and depth with the gloves. Now, in this situation, Adams just threw away the baseball as he continues to miss high at a 2-0 count. And Coach Mike Roberts is going to have a discussion with nobody out in the 5th. It's 5-2. What do you think they're talking about here as the whole infield is going to convene?
Well, settle in, and this is going to be a tough decision, right? There's not a lot of time for the Kettleers to mount a comeback. Still a fair amount of sunlight above Lowell Park. We're in the 5th inning. More sunlight than I would have expected in a game that's moving as slowly as this one is in the 5th. But you can't go to the bullpen and give warm-ups, because that's part of the game. You have to give your bats time to get hits. Last night, game canceled or ended because of darkness and rain. Not the best combination. But, Chris, I want to bring up your point about fielding percentage. Yesterday, Hyannis committed 2 errors. So the 2 errors committed by Hyannis more than likely shot them into a new position in fielding percentage.
Well, now as you look at the numbers deeper, Cotuit, at least right now, would not go to the bottom. They're at errors number 32 and 33 today. Hyannis has 35 on the season. Coach Mike Roberts is going to have to sub out his starting catcher, Matt Donlin, who is taken in by the athletic trainer. He's having a discussion with the umpire, and he has plenty of frustration himself.
Well, this is extremely frustrating, right? Because your backup catcher, or not even backup, your alternate catcher, is playing out in left field right now. So you have a couple of options. Raul Ortega can come in and play catcher from the bullpen. But how are your relief corps going to get work in without a catcher out there? If Donlin's hurt, he's not catching. Suggs can come in, but you'd have to find a replacement for him out in left. My guess is right now they're checking up Donlin to see if he's okay, but
I'm seeing emotion right now to the bullpen, getting Raul back on. And Raul Ortega looks to be coming out of the bullpen right now to catch for the Kettleers. So now here's the real question mark. Ryan Deo, who is a relief pitcher but also will catch from the bullpen. In this situation, would he go back to bullpen catching? Would you bring in a position player to do so just for today that has prior catching experience? This is a very odd situation. Now, it's not the worst idea because Ortega can bat from both sides of the plate against a right-handed pitcher. We've seen the power from the left side of the plate.
Well, you have no other choice, right? You have to either have a guy that has adjusted his mind completely to playing left field in this game, or turn focus with a guy who has been catching the bullpen the entire game. The difference now is what do you do moving forward if Donlin is injured? What you have to think about here is versatility is going to be key moving into the playoffs. So Ortega is going to come in. Suggs is going to stay out. Dio has no choice. He's going to have to suit up as the catcher because there's going to be no way these pitchers can warm up and get zoned. But this is the worst possible scenario, is only having 3 catchers on the roster, one of which is out in the bullpen.
Who is also an active pitcher on this roster. He's not a bullpen catcher. Ortega is active on this roster as well. Luckily so. If they hadn't reactivated him, they wouldn't have had a catcher to play.
That's a great point, Chris. I didn't even think about that. Is Ortega was reactivated just a few games ago. So a couple of players being released or whatever else because the draft has turned out to a fortunate situation, but this is about as difficult of a managerial decision as it gets, right? You could go to Suggs, who has been so steady behind the plate, or go to Ortega, who's really only caught 1 inning of defensive catcher in a game that was ended due to darkness in the 9th. There's really no good decision here. But the one that he made is the one that I 100% agree with, Chris.
Seems like the only logical decision left in this situation, but now Ortega, who caught his warm-up pitches, is now at a 2-0 count with Taylor Smith at the plate, and Logan Adams not finding the zone well. No outs to score 5-2 in the 5th. And a runner on first and Chris Armstrong. And there's a nice pitch, a slider for a called strike, making it 2-1. And you mentioned the darkness about when Ortega appeared as a catcher the last time. It's another factor that is also going on as we're 5 innings in, down 3 runs. We've been at the receiving end a lot of the time at home at Lowell Park because of the darkness when we've been losing games. So front door slider gets him to swing and miss, making it 2-2.
Well, this is also interesting. Think about who Logan Adams gets to throw to virtually every day that Ortega isn't in the lineup. He's throwing to Ortega or Dio, but Dio now has become a reliever. He looks a whole lot more comfortable with Ortega behind the plate right now.
2-2 pitch. Slider ran in. It was his 3rd straight. Now a 3-2 count awaits Taylor Smith. And good point. However, you have to consider as well that Logan Adams is also telling him what pitches he's throwing when he's in the bullpen. He's saying, I'm going to throw a fastball here. It's just like warm-ups. So now Ortega has to be a signal caller and manage the game in a different style as the 3-2 hits him in the head.
Adams having no command at all. It's a 90-mile-an-hour fastball that just hit him right in the dome. Adams is certainly flustered out there.
And this is a very rocky relief performance so far for Logan Adams. He looks shaken up, and rightly so. In this situation, very confused. What happened to Matt Donlin? He had to leave the game. The athletic trainer took him straight to the dugout. Now with 2 runners on, you're down 5-2. You gave up a run already in relief. And it was your own, so already 1 earned run against you, and you haven't recorded an out yet. And Anthony Hall, who already has a single and a run scored, coming up for the 3rd time in this game. Are they going to give him more warm-up pitches? It doesn't seem so. I wouldn't think that as well.
Well, right now, the Kettleers are in a very, very bad position. Donlin's already gotten cuts at the plate. He's been calling a good game so far. Not a ton of chemistry here with the relief pitcher and catcher that's come into the game now. And it's not Raul Ortega's fault, and it's certainly not Logan Adams' fault. It's just circumstantial. But what is the injury that forced Donlin to get out of the game? I wonder if it was a wrist maybe receiving that fastball. Because it's quite the difference in speed when you go from Jake Brooks's 88, 89 mile an hour fastball versus 93, 94, and upstairs, maybe it bent his wrist backwards.
And what scenario does that present for the team if Matt Donlin is sidelined for a few more games, defensively speaking? We've seen Matt Suggs in left field. He's been comfortable there. And as we spoke to Terry Moran, the president of the Kettleers, as Adams is behind 3-0, and he's just not here right now in terms of finding the zone, which we know he's been capable of doing at NC State. If Suggs is the next catcher every day, which he's done a great job over there as well, who's the left fielder? Because for the first time in a very long time, Terry Moran and even Roy Reese said they haven't seen a repeat lineup since being a part of the Kettleers, as Adams gets in a strike to make it 3-1.
Well, it's definitely going to be an interesting question with Alex Sayre not being here anymore, with Drew Compton no longer with the team. These guys could play the outfield positions, could add some infield depth, and had great bats as well. So my thought would be Brett Roberts out in left field.
And that was the second strike of the at-bat. It's 3-2 as Sparky Burns got a little bit ahead of himself. But a nice slider makes it 3 balls and 2 strikes. And I believe that this has been the most confusing inning of CCBL baseball that we've called this season so far.
Yeah, I think so too. Sparky Burns wanted to help his boy out on the mound. And I'm sure Adams would have accepted it, but a pretty slider, ran inside. See if he can go back to it right here.
3-2, popped foul and out of play. Well, we've seen it all this inning. We've seen a substituted catcher from the bullpen come in, a hit by pitch in the head, a run come in to score. And this is where, in a lot of ways, I am not envious of Coach Mike Roberts at all. It is a very, very hard job being a manager of a baseball team. And right here it is showing some tough decisions have had to be made. He's working with the best of them and trying to help out his team.
It's hard to make decisions with a team that's missing a lot of pieces right now.
The 3-2, line drive over the head of Eric Brown. Late jump by Chris Armstrong. He'll round third and head for home. Sliding safely into second is Anthony Hall. It is 6-2 with still nobody out and 2 runners in scoring position.
Adams worked really hard in that at-bat to get back into the count. Started finding the zone a little bit better, and this is a pretty obvious decision. He's going to be done for the day.
So we'll see who is brought on in the 5th inning. It's 6-2 up next. Well, a very strange top of the 5th inning continues with Logan Maitland. Nobody is out with runners on second and third for Michael Curiali. The score 6-2 now, Falmouth. And Maitland has been solid in relief for the Kettleers. The last time he pitched was against Orleans in that 5-1 loss at Lowell Park. 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. As the first pitch misses outside, and the only thing he's looking for is 3 outs. Or are 3 outs, excuse me. Proper grammar. Without allowing any more runs to pass. And a nice front door slider makes it 1-1. Curiali today is 1 for 2 with a single, a run scored, and a line out to Ryan Ritter at shortstop. Now the infield's playing on the grass with nobody out. The 1-1. And another strike, 1-2. So Maitland trying to find the zone against an unfamiliar catcher in a game situation in Raul Ortega. He had to take over for Matt Donlin, who exited the game via a mound visit from Coach Roberts. Now light chopper toward Gold at first. He'll throw to Maitland. No play there. And they'll say he's out.
I cannot believe that. That play didn't look close.
They just said Curiali was out. He beat Dalton Maitland there. And Logan Maitland, excuse me. And right there, they just are allowing him to be on first base after the out was very clearly called by Mike Hinojosa. My eyes weren't deceiving me at all, were they?
I don't believe so. He looked like he said he was out.
So an infield single, I believe. Strange inning continues. Nice slider to start off Jonathan French nonetheless. But that was an odd play. Gold came onto the ball. They thought that the play was going to be at the plate, but holding up was Taylor Smith, and the only option was to flip it to Logan Maitland, who was covering.
Well, it looks like our producer, Owen Zides, Jack Roberts, Warren Kirkley were watching the monitor. They had a better view at it than we did. He was called safe, so that's the right call by Mike Hinojosa over at first base.
I swear the positioning of his arm, they had a better view on it than we did. We also have that nice pole between us right where Hinojosa was standing.
Yeah, sometimes not the ideal viewpoint, but bringing in Maitland, you're getting a guy that throws strikes. So that's really all Coach Mike Roberts wants out of number 47. Unfortunately, he got a piece of light contact. Gold paused to see if the runner at third was going to go home. That was just enough time for Curiali to reach base safely for the second time this game.
A ball and 2 strikes to Jonathan French. It was reached twice off of an error and then a single. Swing and a miss. Maitland gets the first out of the 5th. Big strikeout, and all he needs is a double play ball to get out of it. The infield still stays in for the left-handed hitting Luke Boyers.
Well, that makes a ton of sense. You have a force out at any base. Might as well get the lead runner at home because you don't know if you're going to be able to get the speedy Boyers out if you maybe get the ball on the ground. It's already a 4-run lead for Falmouth, and the bats have not been doing particularly well for Cotuit in this game.
As that pitch pops in and out of Ortega's glove, no advance from Taylor Smith at third base. But Maitland, this season, a 1.92 ERA in 2 games played, only 4 2/3 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks. Can't walk anybody here, or else it would be 7-2 Commodores. 1-0. Backdoor slider, and it works perfectly.
Maitland has a really interesting delivery. Front leg kicks out. Sometimes I don't know if he even knows where the ball is going, but it works for him, and he gets the ball over the middle of the plate. It's pitches like that that show the batters are so confused on what kind of pitch he's throwing there. That's a pretty questionable check swing call.
I thought it was over the middle regardless. That slider on the inside stayed up. 2 balls and a strike. Luke Boyers. 2-1 pitch. Goes right back with the slider, make it 2-2.
That's been his best pitch. He's been hitting his spots a lot better with that than with the fastball, and he hasn't been doing too shabby with the fastball. So that might be his out pitch right here.
2-2, back-to-back strikeouts for Logan Maitland, and he's one away from leaving the bases completely stranded.
Well, 3 men aboard. You have a chance to strike out the side this inning. And if you told me that was what was going to happen in the 5th after how it started, I would not have believed you.
And he leads all pitchers in this contest in strikeouts with 2. As the first pitch comes into Cody Colden, he's 0 for 3. The ground out, another in a double play, and then a pop out to Eric Brown in the 4th inning.
God, we're just chock full of crazy statistics today. Fabia did good work coming in, but Maitland really just cleaning up.
Turned on foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fabia did well. His final line was 3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout.
Chris, you know how I like giving nicknames to pitchers on this staff. If Maitland gets out of this without any more damage done to the Kettleers, I think I have a new one.
Well, wait until he does possibly get out of it before saying it. Next pitch to Colden, and the Stars are slowly starting to align here at a 6-2 differential at Lowell Park. And could Maitland possibly strike out the side here in the 5th? 2 runs came in to score against Adams and leave it at that. Shaking off now the sign from the stretch. 1-2 pitch. Slider stayed away. All 2s.
Well, this crowd is going to be extremely happy with Maitland if he can manage to strike out the side or just get out of the inning. So little time left for the Kettleers.
2-2. High fly ball to center field. Grady trots back to make the catch for the 3rd out. Great relief appearance for Maitland. 2 come in to score against Logan Adams. It's 6-2 heading into the bottom of the 5th.
Welcome back to Lowell Park. Who doesn't love a good Jake Brooks bump day? The rising sophomore out of UCLA, a right-handed pitcher who sits at 6th in the league with a 1.42 ERA. When I talked to him earlier this week, he said that he was surprised to see his name on that all-star list, and I think that's a true testament just to how humble he is. He keeps his head down and he works hard. You can watch this full interview after the game tonight, but for now, let's send it back up to the Carries for tonight's broadcast. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for highlighting Jake Brooks, who had an interesting appearance, or start, I should say, in this game after 4 innings of work. He has been one of the most consistent forces on this Kettleers team. Somebody who seemed to be very consistent thus far as well is Logan Maitland, who got out of it with the bases loaded. 2 strikeouts and then a flyout after giving up a base hit, and you have a nickname for him.
Well, you know, it's some iteration of the janitor because he's cleaning up over the last couple of games that he's been out there. And today on Ladies' Night, he is doing his job. He has outshined Jake Brooks, and that is a tough ask, a tall order for any pitcher to do. With the bases loaded, he gets 2 strikeouts and a fly out to center field. He's turned into one of those steady relief arms for the Kettleers that you can expect Coach Mike Roberts to turn to in a pinch. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but Maitland's first outing really wasn't all that great.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything to look at fondly. It was an inning and 2/3 with 1 run, 1 hit, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So he's had 3 strikeouts in every appearance he's had. He already has 2 here. In the 5th inning, I expect to see him out in the 6th if we even get there at this point. The game is moving at a snail's pace. But the first pitch, a backdoor curveball to start off Noah Bridges. I just wanted to say that right now, the way that the team has had to deal with some things this game, I feel like the only word that comes to mind is embattled as Bridges grounds that to short. Harford, strong throw to first. Would you disagree with that word being used in this situation?
I absolutely would not disagree with that word being used, because you look at some of the guys you've lost to the draft. I mean, our entire team's identity was lost after the draft. Garriola gone, Rhodes gone, Schreck gone, Baldwin gone, tons of relief arms, Jake Smith, Justin Mice, both gone, Ben Rice gone. I mean, the list just goes on and on about players that are no longer on the Kettleers.
The list goes on and on about who's gone and gone, it seems. The 1-1, that's a ball. Or now it's 1-1, excuse me. But you make a great point. This is the point of the Kettleers to talk about, is especially with this season, the way that teams have been designed. It's uncharacteristic the way the draft was placed this year, the way the season was created. It started a 44-game season, then they dropped it to 34 games, then 40, with the new playoff format of 2 teams from each division representing the CCBL playoffs. And some teams, like Falmouth, decided to go with a younger squad of non-draft eligibles to keep a consistent team all year long. So now 2-2. He got Matt Suggs to swing and miss. That's the first strikeout for Garcia of his outing.
Garcia's doing a pretty good job here, but if this is how the league continues, and I don't expect that it will in a post-coronavirus world, teams are going to start adjusting and having players that are not draft eligible, or very few, to start the season. Because the way that the draft is positioned in years prior is that it's right at the beginning of the season, if not before the season even starts. So for the draft to happen in early July, teams basically have to go out and pick guys off the street and say, hey, you want to come join our team? You want to come play? And give a ton of credit to the guys that have done that on the Kettleers and on other squads, because there is a plethora of talent all across the nation for baseball that guys want to come to the CCBL. And for the players that have stayed and worked and continued to represent this organization well, I mean, that's how you become fan favorites.
Martorella draws a 2-out walk. It'll be the first time he reaches base this game, bringing on Raul Ortega in place of Matt Donlin.
And Ortega, isn't he still looking for his first hit, or did he get one at Chatham the other day?
I believe he got one at Chatham, I think.
No, he did not. He's still searching for his first hit. He walked in the 3rd inning and struck out twice and flew out to center.
And a big cut on a changeup away makes it 0-1 for Ortega, who is doing a nearly impossible job. Completely cold coming out of the bullpen as a catcher, trying to manage a game that you're down 4 runs. Probably took limited batting practice today, not expected to be inserted into the lineup. He tries to go the other way. It's 0-2. And he's kept a very positive attitude, a load of talent, so much depth there as well. I'm just happy to see him in a Kettleers uniform representing the team in the game.
Well, knowing him, he is as ready for this situation as any could be. Always locked in, always approaching the game with just a ton of excitement. That's what you have to ask for, right? He does get batting practice. He does get a couple swings. But this is a moment where he could really start to cement himself as a bona fide player and not just a bullpen option, because let's face it, he is not that guy. He is not a bullpen catcher anywhere else.
1-2 from the 3/4. And a play by Curiali ends the inning. We go to the 6th. Well, the 5th and 6th innings of weirdness continue for the Kettleers. When you just thought that there possibly could be an end, Ryan Dio comes out in relief of Logan Maitland, who went an inning, gave up a hit, had 2 strikeouts after leaving 3 on the base paths for Logan Adams.
And I love this. Not a ton of time left. Ryan Dio has proven himself as a relief arm. In the game against Chatham, he struck out Maxwell Romero Jr., who hit 3 home runs against the Kettleers at Veterans Field alone in that one game. So they know that time's running out. They want to turn to an arm that may not get a ton of action, but Dio is proving himself. He's typically a catcher at Southern New Hampshire, but showing his versatility. He's going to throw in strikes. Coach Roberts managing the bullpen maybe for tomorrow's game against Wareham, saving a couple of the other arms that are typically at the pitching position. But I like it. I like the decision here.
He drew soft contact, just playing it where it wasn't was Casey Harford, his first hit of the game and his 6th hit on his CCBL season. But another thing to consider is who's going to be catching in the bullpen now at this point. Donlin seems like he might be injured, and they wouldn't move him over to even test it. Who's out there catching? Are they putting a pitcher on like in Little League when you have just somebody with a glove hoping that it works? As Dio misses outside against Jace Borfin, this is somebody you don't want to face. He's reached base 3 times, also scored 2 runs in this game. It's 6-2. Dio did well in one inning of work, had 2 strikeouts against the Anglers. One of them being against Maxwell Romero Jr., had 3 home runs and 3 at-bats in that game, becoming the 11th player in CCBL history to do so.
Well, and Chris, to answer your question about who's catching in the bullpen, I don't think anybody is. I think that Dio pretty much has the keys to the castle right now. This game is not going to go much longer, given that the light is fading here at Lowell Park. I think that all they want from him is just eat up time.
There's a line drive into left center field, and Borfin's hitting continues as he'll go to second base with a stand-up double, moving Casey Harford to third. Now 2 runners are in scoring position for the hot-hitting Chris Armstrong, who has a home run and a single in this game. Could possibly add to that total here in the 6th.
And I'm not suggesting that this game is unwinnable for the Kettleers, but they need to get out of this inning quickly and hope that there's enough daylight left for their bats. But this is a huge, huge game and a huge start, because if the tone gets set down here in the final stretch with 11 games left to play, it could get bad very quickly for Cotuit. Certainly not what anybody wants here in this village, and the team that has had as much success as the Kettleers have in the playoffs, the defending champions still of the league. Sometimes we forget that with the team playing the way that they have been over the last week or so. You never want to lose out.
First pitch to Armstrong is at 66 miles per hour. It looks like a changeup. 1 ball and no strikes. Not high velocity coming from Dio. It's resemblant of a Dalton Radins and Alaska Abney type of mixture. Fastball topping out around 80. As he gets 77 up and away in a swing and miss.
He is just the most unique player, right? He's a catcher by trade, and as a catcher, of course, you're going to throw down to second over the top, but he comes in as a relief pitcher, and he's almost a submariner. He just drops the arm. So cool, and his personality reflects it. Just one of the most interesting guys on this team.
High and deep to right center field. Still tracking it at the wall is Bridges. Tagging in and scoring is Harford. And advancing to third base is Jace Borfin. It is 7-2. So Armstrong records his 4th run batted in of this game. That's good for number 13 on his season. And now with 1 out, Taylor Smith will come up, who's yet to get a hit but has reached base twice via walk. Getting hit in the helmet by a pitch from Logan Adams. As the daylight continues to go away.
And he stood on third base for a long time. Never got home because Logan Maitland did such good work in relief of Adams, but I know he'd like to contribute just a little bit here. It's really starting to get dark at Lowell Park, and I feel like you just have to continue to talk about it. It is one of the most interesting things about this park, about this field. Same can be said about Brewster.
The Kettleers made it through the top of the 6th inning last game, and I thought that would probably be the shortest game that we play this season at Lowell Park. And now in the top of the 6th inning here, the light's starting to fade. Now for completely different reasons. Lightning and rain came at about the same time. There was a 30-minute delay, and then the light came out. Cotuit was offered one more chance to score, or Hyannis was offered one more chance to score, as Cotuit won the game. I'm wondering if the same situation would happen in the bottom of the 6th inning, considering the way that the team has had a few bruises so far with Donlin and utilizing both of your former bullpen catchers and also current bullpen catchers that are both active now. What decision could be made behind the plate by Sparky Burns, as he has what seems to be the final say? As It's 3 balls and a strike now for Taylor Smith.
Yeah, and there's still no activity in the bullpen. This is Ryan Dio's game from here on out.
The 3-1 pitch upstairs and a walk.
And Dio sometimes has been joking about getting in and pitching, but he's a legitimate pitcher. He wouldn't be activated on this roster if he wasn't a good pitcher, and he is certainly a good pitcher. His stuff doesn't have high velocity, and he's been coming in situations where the Kettleers have been behind by a couple of runs, but I think that he can continue to grow in this spot. I doubt he will as a pitcher at Southern New Hampshire. He is a very talented catcher that's learned a lot this summer. But he's looking at this and he's holding himself to a higher standard. He says, I know that maybe I'm not your first option as a reliever, but I want to get in these games. I want to contribute. I want to help this team and limit the damage. And he did that against Chatham. Game ended after he came in to pitch.
As that goes behind Anthony Hall. Now 2 balls and no strikes. Ground out to second base to possibly force a double play would get the Kettleers out of it. They're down by 5 runs, and Coach Roberts quickly rushing to the pitcher's mound. It doesn't seem like he'll point to the bullpen. But I think he's aware of the time now with the lights starting to go down. Is there a possible decision by Coach Roberts not to forfeit the game by any sense of the word, but to possibly kill some time at this point and wait for the light to go out to protect his players more than anything?
Well, there's really no point in doing that. Dio more than likely isn't going to be his first reliever out of the pen in most games. And that's not a knock on Ryan or his talent or his ability. I think he's just going out there to say to him, hey, just throw strikes. Whatever happens, happens. We're down by 5. We really don't have a lot of time anyway. Just throw strikes. If they beat you, they beat you. You know, you're not coming out here to get scouted as a pitcher by big league scouts. Your goal is to be the best catcher you can be at Southern New Hampshire next season. Just go out here, throw strikes for me, save a couple arms in the pen, and then you're a hero. You're a hero for this game. If you can eat up the rest of this inning.
And I think it's important to note the coach hustled out of the dugout straight to the pitcher's mound, as he misses. Now it's 3-0 against Anthony Hall. And he just wants Dio to throw strikes. So maybe he is aware of the time limits and the way that the light works. Nobody knows this park better than Coach Roberts. 3-0 misses to 4-pitch walk will load up the bases for Michael Curiali. Back-to-back walks from Dio brings up the UCLA product.
Well, fortunately, run differential is not a big factor in the decision-making part of who goes to the playoffs or who doesn't. I'm sure that if you check off a bunch of different boxes.
Light fly ball lifted into center. Grady under it, revving up, throwing to the plate. It's cut off by Gold. A sacrifice fly for Curiali. Brings in Jay Sporfin for run number 8 of the game for the Commodores.
But as I was saying, if somehow teams happen to have the exact same win percentage, they'll go head-to-head. If they split that series, they go to some other metric. So maybe down the line, way down the line, run differential comes into play. But fortunately in games like this, in games like the Chatham game, wins and losses are the only thing that matters down the stretch.
Jonathan French now up. He fouls that pitch away off the mask of Raul Ortega. It's 0-1.
And I also have to give a lot of credit to Raul Ortega for coming in this game. He's been calling a really good game. Only 2 runs have come across. He was in there with Logan Maitland. Helped get him out of the inning. Virtually no damage. In fact, no damage done. Here with Dio. Only 2 runs in a game that you're really far behind anyway. So all you need to do is get one out. I doubt this game goes much longer. It's getting pretty dark. A lot of credit should be given to these guys for the fight that they're putting out on the field right now.
Certainly so, as Dio got Jonathan French on the shoulder. Not too hard velocity in. French just shrugged it off and went to first. Bases loaded for the bottom of the order in Luke Boyers, who has an RBI off of a ground out, but is 0 for 3 on the day. And it looks like Sparky Burns isn't opening up the zone at all. At a 6-run deficit, he's still calling a game the way that he believes should be called. That's why he's one of the best in the CCBL.
You have to stay consistent. No freebies on the zone.
There's a nice strike call, and you know it's from Sparky when you hear that emphatic strike yawn call. Kind of sounds like he's waking up in the morning.
That is 100% true. You know that they say yawning is contagious, so maybe you'll call another strike here with that strike yawn, as you've coined it.
1-1, chopper foul. Not a chopper 2 hopper. It was about 4 or 5.
And in foul ground. So
And in foul ground.
Hawk Harrelson would not be happy with you.
Well, I said this yesterday. It has to be in play, so I just broke my own cardinal rule about the chopper 2 hopper.
Or your own White Sox rule, if you want to keep things really professional. Hawk Harrelson, of course, the longtime broadcaster for the Chicago White Sox.
1-2 pitch. Tried to frame it, was Ortega. Now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dio would like to get out of it with 2 runs against him and an 8-2 scoreline as the light still continues to fade here at Lowell Park. Not too much to say, folks. The 2-2 pitch. In on the hands and fouled away. Ortega was on the run to catch it. So tomorrow we play against the Gatemen at Spillane Field at 6:30. Another big game and another big test for the Kettleers as the Commodores enjoy an 8-2 lead at Lowell Park. Trying to get closer in this series. They're down 0-2. Both games played at Gov Fuller Field. The Kettleers won by 1 run. And now the Commodores up by 6, coming here with a vengeance. The 2-2. That's a ball that missed. Dio didn't like it. Now at 3-2, he doesn't want to walk in the 9th run of the game.
And I love to see that from Dio. The intensity still on the mound. Such a competitor out there. Wants to get out of this inning despite knowing this game is probably going to be a loss for the Kettleers.
And he misses there. He will walk in the 9th run of the game. A 7-run lead for the Commodores. And the 3rd walk given up by Dio. And now Coach Roberts is going to go to the bullpen. So couldn't make it out of the 6th. And a new pitcher's coming on up next. New pitcher, it's Riley Hughey out of the College of Central Florida with Cotuit. He's appeared in 2 games as a 9 ERA and 2 innings pitched, has 1 strikeout and 4 walks. Last time he played against Orleans went 2 innings, gave up 2 hits, 3 walks, and 1 strikeout, but no runs came in against him. All he needs is 1 out here, and I assume that at the end of this, the conclusion of the last out here, the game would be called.
I think you're 100% right, Chris. I don't see how this game gets played after this inning just because you want to save your guys' energy. Now, this is a really big call to the bullpen by Coach Roberts because, once again, this is an arm that more than likely won't be available tomorrow. You're already at your 5th arm of the game. Adams, Maitland, Dio, and Hughey probably will not be able to pitch against Wareham tomorrow. We know how big of a game that is. So this game situationally has not been very good for Cotuit at all in terms of their approach for that 2nd place spot, which they currently hold, but after this game they will not, barring any type of miracles in the bottom half of this inning.
First pitch from Hughey. Stays up. It's 1-0 against Cody Colden, who's still looking for his first hit of the game. He's 0 for 4 with a pair of groundouts, a pop out, and a fly out. Lots of outs. 1 more would be nice here at 9-2 now the score. Hughey in relief of Ryan Dio. 1-0. There's a strike. An 84. 1-1. At the conclusion of this game, folks, Lauren Kirkley and Tim Crowley will have a live post-game here, so stick around for their breakdowns and much, much more. As we look at Riley Hughey trying to get Cody Colden out for the 5th time this game. Nice breaking ball, but it drops low. Nice block by Ortega.
Yeah, I don't really get why you're throwing a breaking ball right there. I mean, nobody's been hitting the zone. You just need to throw strikes. I get it. You're trying to be deceptive, but they've already batted their way through the order with this man coming up to the plate. Just throw a fastball, see what can happen, and look what happens.
Popped up, or skied to right field, I should say. It went a lot further than I thought, and it is caught by Bridges for the 3rd out. Are they going to call this game? The umpires are convening, but as of right now, nothing has been signaled yet. We'll see what happens up next. Well, after the conclusion of this half inning, the game should be over. It'll start with Ryan Ritter. We'll come to the plate down 7 runs. Daniel Garcia on the mound. 9-2 your score. And what we heard from Sparky Burns was it was either this at-bat or this inning. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, so we'll see after what happens to Ryan Ritter if they call it after this at-bat, if Ritter gets out, or they'll try to keep it a full inning. Quickly working is Garcia, the first pitch. Stays up, 1-0. Riley Hughey came in relief, went a third of an inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned, 0 walks, and 0 strikeouts. There's a strike, 1-1.
Well, and Ritter if you're trying to get any type of comeback started, this is the guy you want at the plate. He gave a ball a ride out to center field his first time up, then doubled out to the right center field gap his last time up.
Chopper foul on the third baseline. It's 1-2 to Ritter. Once again, fans, after the conclusion of this game, it will be a live post-game show with Lauren Kirkley and Tim Crowley, breaking down the results of this game and more. Be sure to stay tuned here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all of our social accounts at Cotuit Kettleers, as that ran inside on Ryan Ritter. And tomorrow, when we're on the road, follow us, listen to us, subscribe to us, whatever it is, on the MixLR stream, the Cotuit Kettleers Radio Network. We'll be at Spillane Field at 6:30 to face the Gatemen. As Ryan Ritter goes the other way with it, it's going to drop in for a base hit with nobody out. Ritter's got 2 hits today.
Again, seeing the ball extremely well. Looks so much more comfortable in this position. And this could mean a lot for the Kettleers moving forward. I know this game has been sort of like finding a worm in your apple. Because first you have an apple, a chance, a golden opportunity to beat a team that really you need to beat. Then you go through a bunch of pitching. That's the worm. But Ryan Ritter has been a big staple of this offense in this game. And if he can continue that down the stretch and really be somebody the Kets can rely on the bottom part of the order, it's going to be a very, very good thing over the next week and a half.
Grady takes a pitch low. Now 2 balls and no strikes. Garcia only needs 3 outs to end the game. He's up by 7 runs, but you say it best, Stefan. The apple and the worm comparison is great. I think it's also a spiraling out of control type of game. Kettleers have had basically every wrench possible thrown at them, and they're still outstanding. As Grady pops one up, Colden will make the play at third. So that's the first out. 2 more are needed for the Commodores, and Carter Trice coming up to the plate. He's reached base 3 times, thrice you should say. 2 walks, a run scored, and a single. But as I was saying, cycle of problems that had happened, starting with Donlin, the runs coming in to score, Brooks not having the best outing that he could have imagined, just created a domino effect, and we're here now down 7 runs.
Well, the Kettleers are about to be 1-6 in their last 7 games. Again, there's only 10 games left to play after this one. And if you start building negative momentum, other teams will capitalize. Falmouth, as we said, when you break it down using the winning percentage, they are in a much better position to take second place than Wareham is. So who we initially were concerned about coming in from behind, just because Wareham seems like a stronger team than Falmouth in terms of personnel.
Especially who they got back.
With Paul Skeens coming back in.
Plenty of other different players as well. Falmouth, right now that we know the way the rules are, and the president of the CCBL telling us about how it works, Falmouth is in a good position here. Seems like the less games that you play on the front end actually helps you in the back end, especially if you've won 10 games or more.
So I guess now we're going to have to start reading the standings based on winning percentage and not just their record, so we can give you the most accurate understanding of who's in what place.
High fly ball to right field. Borfin moving back. It will sneak over the wall. A 2-run home run for Carter Trice. He goes the other way with it, and it's 9-4 Kettleers.
And he knew he was going to get one sooner or later. This is another positive sign. Now, it seems like it might be too little too late, but hitting a ball to the opposite field for a home run, I don't know if we've seen that this year. Definitely not at Lowell Park from what I've gotten to witness, but Trice, a ton of strength to push that ball out over the right field wall. No wind here. Just uses being a little bit late on that pitch to his advantage. Kettleers, good to see them not going down without a fight.
Plenty of fight in the Kettleers team. As Gold is now 1-1, and it's getting really dark here. These are the guys that you want to have at the plate with just one out. Carter Trice starting to impress. Has reached base 4 times, has 2 runs scored, a pair of hits. As Gold shoots one up to right field. This time, Borfin will be able to make the play for the second out. So the final possible hitter for the Kettleers could be Eric Brown, unless he extends the inning with a base hit or home run, or what have you. Not sure who would be eligible for the win here. I believe it might be Garcia, because he was the pitcher that came in really in the 4th all the way to now. First pitch to Eric Brown, slider in on the hand, slapped foul. He's behind 0-1.
He's just timing up these pitches really, really well lately. Just has not been rewarded at all. And it's so unfortunate, because he is one of the best hitters in the entire league.
Ground ball blocked by Harford. Will there be a play to first? It is not in time. We'll see how they score that. Is it the 9th hit of the game for the Kettleers? It quickly gets on the scoreboard. Eric Brown records a hit, and the inning is extended for Noah Bridges. Or is it? Just had to swipe off home plate with the brush. It's the 4th hit given up by Garcia this game. Bridges coming up now. Fifth hit, excuse me. 4th hit given up by him. And Bridges jumps all over the first pitch. Boyer's coming on. It will drop in. Eric Brown going first to third, and advancing to second base is Noah Bridges. And the hits are starting to pile up here in the 6th inning for the Kettleers. That's the 5th hit given up now by Garcia. So certainly not going down without a fight. There's going to be a conversation at the pitcher's mound. Can't imagine that they'll go to the bullpen here with 1 out left in this game. Just about getting that final out. Still up 5 runs. Cotuit has recorded 10 hits now in the game. The 2 errors still loom over their heads, and they will go to the bullpen. Garcia's day is done. With runners on second and third and 2 outs, Matt Suggs still has to try and keep it going for Cotuit. We'll see who's coming on here for Falmouth. Well, certainly Levi Wells will be the last Commodores pitcher we see in this game. Unless the Kettleers are able to just punish his pitching as much as they did in the 6th against Garcia. Wells this season 1-1 with a 3.55 ERA, 7 games, 0 started, only 12 2/3 innings pitched, but 20 strikeouts, 8 walks, and 10 hits. A walk or a hit would be great here, would load him up for Nathan Martorella waiting on deck. But Wells out of Texas Tech trying to close the door at a 9-4 score line here at Lowell Park. First pitch is a strike to the outside corner at 93, 0-1.
Part of me thinks that might have been the oldest trick in the CCBL book, calling a relief pitcher late in a game with darkness, maybe trying to conjure a response from the umpires and say, hey, you're going to go to the bullpen, we're just going to end this game, and maybe stop the rally from the Kettleers. We've seen it from a couple teams. We've seen it from ourselves in a couple games.
Matt Suggs down to his final strike here in the 6th inning. It's 0-2 with 2 runners in scoring position. Levi Wells trying to do good work for the Commodores in 3 pitches. We'll see if he can get him here. The 0-2 pitch, and it's fouled in and out of the glove of Smith. So it'll take more than 3, but it's still an 0-2 count. We've hit 3 hours in this game. It's hard to believe we're only in the 6th inning, but that's how it's gone. A very long start in the front end of the 3 innings. The 0-2 pitch popped up. Who's going to get it? Curiali calling everyone off, and he finds it for the 3rd out. 9-4 your final score here at Lowell Park. Falmouth gets one back against Cotuit, this time on the Kettleers' home turf. Cotuit falls to 12-15. Falmouth advances to 11-13-2. From our entire crew, Owen Zides, Jack Roberts, Chris Carey, and Stephen Carey wish you a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow on Sunday against the Wareham Gatemen on the Cotuit Kettleers Radio Network. And now, Tim Crowley and Lauren Kirkley will conduct a live post-game show breaking down this game and much more. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
9-4 the final from Lowell Park tonight. The Falmouth Commodores come in and get a win over the hometown Cotuit Kettleers. Tim Crowley with you on the Kettleers post-game show. We'll be back to recap the game in just a moment. But for now, let's send it down to our own Lauren Kirkley, who's standing by with Coach Roberts.
Coach, we saw Matthew Donlin leave in the 5th on injury. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to what's going on with him?
Well, he got hit in the throat and actually was kind of dizzy. We were standing on the mound, and he was a little bit shaky. Being an old catcher, I can relate to being hit right kind of in the Adam's apple on the side of it. But he feels better now. He definitely feels better than he did 4 innings ago. And our trainers and our team doctor will monitor him. I don't think he has a concussion, and he doesn't think so either. But we'll monitor him for 24 to 48 hours.
What do you think of Ortega stepping up as catcher?
Well, he's a great kid, and he came in and did a really good job. So it's fun to see. It's fun to see Raul and Ryan Deo out there. But I also have to say, to play really well. They're not very experienced players, but I'm happy for them. But we need to keep our experienced players out there as best as we can.
You have 2 big division games coming up on the road. What's it take to pick up 2 wins in the West?
Well, we need to go back and play like we did a couple of weeks ago, and when we won 3 out of 4 on the road. And I'm trying. Our coaching staff's really working diligently to try to pull a new team together almost, at least halfway through the season, almost 2/3 of the way. And it's one of the bigger challenges I've had in a long time to lose that many people and then kind of restart what you normally start in early June. So, they'll go compete. It's just, as I've said many times, okay, how polished are we? And some nights we're polished, some nights we're not very polished, and tonight was one of those nights we weren't very polished.
Thanks, Coach. From Lowell Park, Lauren Kirkley. Back to you, Tim.
Lauren, thank you so much. Once again, from the booth, the final from Lowell Park tonight, the Falmouth Commodores 9 and the Kettleers 4 in a game that was called after 6 innings due to darkness. Welcome back to the live edition of the Kettleers post-game show here on YouTube. Tim Crowley with you. Well, it's Jake Brooks who got the ball for the Kettleers today, entered 6th in the league with a 1.42 ERA, but through his 4 innings, the Commodores found a way to get to him, pushing across 4 runs early and then tacking on late. It was the 2 errors that led to that from the Kettleers. And then offensively, a few more miscues, 11 men left on base through 6 innings, allowing the Commodores to pull ahead and stay ahead. Not just tonight, but now in the standings as well, taking sole possession of that 2nd spot in the West due to winning percentage, taking that tiebreaker to now hold that 2nd playoff spot in the West. So 2 huge games coming up over the next 2 days on the road for the Kettleers. They'll go to Wareham tomorrow night and then Hyannis on Monday. So 2 big Western Division games coming up that could have some serious playoff implications. Thinking back to that stretch that Coach Roberts just talked about, winning 3 of 4 on the road just a week or so ago. 2 of those wins coming on Monday and Wednesday of that stretch against the Wareham game and at their place by finals of 6-0 and 6-1. The Kettleers will look to rekindle that magic and further jump ahead in that season series over the Gatemen tomorrow night. So they'll head over the bridge for a 6:30, 7 o'clock start tomorrow night, and then over to Hyannis on Monday evening before returning to Lowell Park later next week. So we'll be ready to take you through that over the next 2 days. You can turn into YouTube right here on the Kettleers Digital Network for the pregame show with Lauren, myself, and the Carries. The Twins will take you through the live game broadcast on the Kettleers Radio Network through MixLR, and then following the game, as always, over the next 2 nights, you can catch Lauren with her post-game interview with Coach Roberts, and I'll take you home on the post-game show as always. But once again, the final from Lowell Park tonight, the Kettleers dropped to 12-15 following a 9-4 loss at the hands of Western Division rival, the Falmouth Commodores. We'll see you over the next 2 days before returning to Lowell Park. Make sure to check us in on the road through the YouTube and MixLR on the Kettleers Digital Network. I'm Tim Crowley. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Kettleers post-game show on the Kettleers Digital Network.